Fuego Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
You know, I'm not really sure how this weekend went for you guys, but I feel fine, just fine. Fine, just fine.
It was okay. It was better than I expected.
Yeah, I expected to be sick. Nothing. Well, I mean, other than the throwing up part.
Yeah,
Right.
There's a few iffy trips to the bathroom for number 2, but other than that, it was all right.
Did you make it?
Oh, I made it. It's
Yeah.
just the end result isn't fun.
See, that hasn't been a problem for me. My body's like, yeah, whatever. It's weird. I was expecting the opposite.
Who's eating right now? Leave a comment down below. Steve Dangle Podcast.
We're talking about how on Friday, 6,000 people tuned in to watch us eat hot dogs, and we how many did we eat? 24 over the course of 10 minutes.
Yes.
Combined.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like 8 or 9, Steve had 8 or 9, and Jesse had 6.
Yeah, I had 6.
So, and not bad, right? Not a bad total. But when you compare and contrast that with the two guys that were really, really good, that Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi, those guys can do double that in 10 minutes, right? They can do like 50. Triple.
The record is 74. We had 24 combined. So if you made us into one person and tripled it, we'd still lose by 2 hot dogs.
Yeah. I think if we had their hot dogs, they have like the super thin buns and the tiny wieners, I think you up each of our totals by like 3.
I've got one of those anyway.
Even at that point, you know.
Oh man. Hey.
No, but still, you're right, Jesse. And but here's the thing: are those hot dogs like available, or are they like competition hot dogs and they're only available? Like, I'm not kidding. Like, is this,
Specialty stores,
like NHL pucks. You know how like a puck you get that is game ready is a little different than the one you get at Canadian Tire, right?
This paste is a Joey Chestnut game used hot dog.
Right? Yeah.
There has to be an
an
international standard for eating competitions.
There
right?
must.
Else it would be you couldn't count the records. Because it has to be the same over the course of all the competitions. So I assume there is.
To our conversation about boiled, barbecued, or microwaved, they have to all be cooked the exact same way, which to me, using a barbecue is out of the question.
Why?
Because they'd all be, like, depending on the different flame that it's on, like one flame could be hotter than the other. What maybe they get burnt or overcooked, or I don't know.
I think they get
barbecue's a little
boiled,
bit more volatile. Oh,
yeah, I guess. I mean, I think that they boiled them for the hot dog festival thing, whatever they call that.
I would think they would have some sort of like timed grill where it's like we put this down, we put 100 down at a time, we put it down for 10 minutes, you lift it up, they're all the same.
They're done, you know? Yeah.
Like some sort of massive George Foreman.
Yes.
Yeah, like a McDonald's kind of setup,
Yeah. Hey, I got a question. That what is it? Something Island. What do they call that? What's the event called? I can never. It's in New Jersey where they have the hot dog eating contest. What is it called?
Is it?
I know
Coney
it's like
Island?
Nathan. Oh, Coney Island. Yeah.
It's Nathan's or whatever. Yeah.
Nathan's
That's
Coney
one.
Island something.
That's one ridiculous sporting event where I've always looked at that and said, you know, one time in my life, I'd like to go to that. I think that'd be kind of fun. Don't you think? It'd probably be anticlimactic, but to say that you were there, because there are always like hundreds of people there. Another thing I would like to do is go to a dart match. I'd love to go to England and go to a dart match. And in fact, I'd like to go with you two because I think that would be the most fun. You just get a bunch of pictures and you stand on your chair and you yell at the people throwing darts. And I just think
go nuts.
I don't know why they're going nuts. I don't even understand darts, but man, it sounds like just looks like a party. It's crazy.
You'd know by the end. You'd know by the end. You know what Olympic event no work is getting done during?
What's that?
Curling. So I was in the CBC studio for Sochi, and just everyone was distracted by curling, which we all thought was the most boring, dumb thing at the beginning. Well, not all of us. CBC, a bunch of people did curling highlights. But by the end of it, it's like on the 8th rock, and we're like, look. Everything. Look. No, it's not the right spin. It wasn't the right spin. They didn't have the right spin. Like, we all had our opinions on it.
Apparently, my dad went to the Olympics in Athens in 2004 with work because he worked for the CBC. And he was escorting some clients there, I guess, and, you know, major sponsors and things like that. And he's just like, normal sales rep guy. And he's getting to do a lot of things that, you'd have to go to multiple Olympics to do because CBC had the rights to the Olympics. And he said the best part about the Olympics for him, where they were the summer games, was the Australians. Because if you went to a rowing race, anything with paddles or rowing or whatever, they've got a whole bunch of chants and stuff that they do. And then I guess they yell "oi" every time the paddles hit the water. So but you can imagine the Aussie boats, and I think the Aussies always do really well in that category too. And they're like, you can see the paddling. It's like "oi, oi, oi, oi," and even basically the rest of the crowds are just there, kind of laughing at them. But apparently the Australians at the Summer Olympics are the people to hang out with. That's another thing I'd love to do, is just go to one summer event, one winter event at the Olympics, just one. I know you've done the winter thing, Steve, but I'd really like to do that.
How did you get to do everything when you went out to Vancouver? Were you just like there for the 2 weeks? And
no, I only saw one other event live. That was the one bummer. I wish we could have gotten up to Whistler.
Yeah.
We saw, you know what we saw? We saw speed skating, but it was long track.
Oh.
Long track.
I like speed skating. Speed skating's fun.
Long track is like an hour though.
Yeah,
that's okay.
And you can't tell who's winning. And like literally, I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, it looked fast. Long track speed skating sucks. If you're good at it, great. I'm not saying you're not an athlete. I'm just saying it's boring to watch. Short track speed skating is hilarious because each and every race, the slowest person could the slowest person could win just because they were the only one who didn't crash, which is more or less how the gold medal is handed out year in, year out.
I love when they have to do that cross too.
Oh,
and they just blast into each other. That's like... It's like the demolition derby. Like, have you ever seen, I don't know, on there used to be a network called Speed, and my dad had it because he's a huge racing fan. And they used to have on like Saturday nights and stuff, they'd have this like, deep south crazy mud racing things. And then they had this thing where there's 8 school trucks or school buses in a figure 8. And the whole point is to last. They drive in a figure 8. And the whole point is to last as long as you possibly can, and then the last bus standing wins. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And every time I see that at the Olympics with the speed skating, they're like, "Oh my God, they're doing the bus thing." It's the exact same thing.
That's how Canada won gold in 2010 in Vancouver. Like someone fell, and then they almost lost it because they were falling as they went over the finish line. Oh, it's wild.
It's
but we saw the wrong one.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of hockey, though. I saw every men's game except for the round-robin game against Switzerland, where Crosby won it in the shootout. And I saw a lot of the women's games, too. Can't remember how many, but I saw the gold. But
where were you for the golden goal?
For which one, Jesse? There was for...
the golden goal.
I know. I'm just being a dick.
Listen to this guy.
I know.
I
was on the side of the ice that Jerome McGinley was on. So when he fell down, he sort of like disappeared from my sight line. So I was way up in the bleeders on Luongo's glove side. Right? So Luongo's
at the other end of the ice.
Left hand, at the other end. So when McGinley fell down, he sort of disappeared and the puck goes in.
Yeah.
And
nobody but Crosby knows.
Yeah.
No, it really did take us a it took us a second to figure out the puck was even in, not just because we couldn't see it, but, and I always hate saying this to Americans, we couldn't believe that's what beat Ryan Miller.
Mm-hmm.
He was so good.
So good. Yeah.
He was so good all tournament long, and that is what did it. A mistimed poke check.
Mm-hmm. And honestly took a team that was pretty talented, but not they were not
better than Canada.
America now has way better top end talent than America then did. And I think it's just the cycle they were in. But this was the era in between the guys like Brett Hull, who were, just throwing pucks in the net, and Mike Modano was on the downside, and I don't even know if he was on that team. But they had like this amazing team like Jeremy Roenick and all those guys around like the 2000 to 2006 era, like that. And then they sort of went through a bit of a down. And now if you look at the American players now, I wonder, going into the Olympics, Canada is always obviously one of the top favorites. But boy, I don't know how the U.S. doesn't seriously scare Canada at this point. If there was an Olympics now, if they were doing a hockey tournament now with NHL players.
I can't imagine what cheering against Austin Matthews would be like. Like, ever since the Leafs got that pick, I've never cheered against them. There was the one World Junior, and that's it.
And North America,
Oh, no, I cheered for okay. If it was a North America versus Canada gold medal at the World Cup, I'm 100% cheering for North America. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What? Why?
What do you mean why? Because they're the fun, plucky team, and they're the underdog.
They don't even represent anything.
They were the underdog. They represented fun. The country they represented was fun.
Right.
Then there was some of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was just, screw defense. We have black and orange jerseys. They're super dope. Watch this. They should have been called Team Watch This.
Yeah.
Because that was every goal.
What was the top line? It was McDavid, Matthews, and
Shifley.
Oh,
they have 3 centers because why not?
It's amazing. Who was the head coach of that team? Don't tell me it was Torts.
No,
because if it was, man, they didn't play Torts style.
Who's in LA right now? I think it was him.
It was Todd McClellan.
Yeah.
Todd McClellan. Really?
Todd McClellan.
He was San Jose's coach.
They should have made it like Paul Maurice or someone. Just
why?
I don't know. It should have been done with the air of they're the young one. You know what I mean? Should have been the youngest coach in the NHL, no matter who it was.
Every member of the coaching staff of Team North America is Canadian. So what is that?
See, that's why I don't feel bad.
You got to mix it up a little.
Yeah, you do. You should have some Americans in there.
Listen, Jesse, when you have the best, you go with the best. That's just
Bowman and Chiarelli are the ones that put it together, the general managers.
They put Team North America together?
Yeah.
So, that always confused me because I remember, like, the Leafs had already picked Matthews first. And I'm like, okay, I'm super jacked for him too, but you're telling me this guy who's never played in the NHL deserves to be on this team? I don't know. And then he did that ridiculous friggin' he like dangles one of the Sedins from his knees and then he bangs in. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's good.
I remember that was a question we were talking about on the show. Like, okay, are we going to get Matthews this year and maybe Nylander for half the year, but Marner's going to spend another year down? Like, what does Marner have left to do? Is he going to be a Marley first? Like, those were all real questions. We thought, and is Brooks Laich going to be the captain?
Who wrote that article?
Yeah, Brooks Laich.
Or is Brooks Laich just going to appear on E! News' Instagram page talking about Julianne Hough and their sex life? And
Adam, but you're obsessed with that stuff.
I'm obsessed with those two. Can we talk about that?
They're so weird. Yeah, sure, let's do it.
So freaking weird, man.
Let's do it.
Okay, all right. So
no, sorry, Adam. We got lots of hockey to talk about.
We do. There's like an NHL draft thing. But
I was kidding.
Okay, if you want an amusing time, follow E! News on Instagram, and every other day they've got a news story about Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough, and they're married. But right now they're quarantining separate. She's in LA, he's in Idaho because he's introverted and she's social. So he wants to be in Idaho with his dog. And he has a podcast called, I think it's called like How Guys Think. And it's with a musician. And it's, I gotta read you the bio. How Guys Think.
It's called How Men Think.
How Men Think.
With Brooks Laich and Gavin DeGraw.
Gavin DeGraw, yes.
You want me to read it? I got it in front of me.
Yeah, read it.
Have you ever wondered what your husband is really thinking? Why does your boyfriend do that? It's no secret that men don't often share their inner thoughts, even with each other. This podcast will literally serve as how men think as NHL great Brooks Laich. NHL great Brooks Laich and award-winning musician, singer, songwriter Gavin DeGraw and their panel of experts, each of whom is in a different stage of their life, open up on their personal and often hysterical views on relationships, marriage, children, health, wellness, lifestyle, self-discovery, and the world.
Cool.
and here's how you know, what's so fascinating about what's going on with Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough is you know that their PR people are feeding these stories to entertainment outlets so they'll run them, right? Mm-hmm. And so because Because honestly, I mean, Julianne's extremely talented, and Brooks was an extremely talented athlete. You can take nothing away from them. They've been very successful. Good for them.
He made 4.5 for a reason. He earned his contract.
Right.
It was a
but
bit
the
long.
question is, who cares? And
Right.
the answer is nobody. Like, nobody cares. Like, nobody's like, oh, God, I woke up this morning and I can't flip and wait to find out how Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough are doing.
I don't
But-
even consider Brooks like famous.
He's not.
No.
He's famous.
I don't.
He's a hockey player. She's famous.
Right.
Even if like he
He's
hasn't
Washington famous.
he hasn't played a game in like 5 years.
Mhm.
Or
Also,
4
and when
years.
he was playing, he wasn't a big deal.
No, he was just a guy. He was a guy. He was big in Washington.
Yeah,
But he's just a guy on a roster. There's hundreds of those.
It's like Tyler Bozak and his wife. Let's find out how their sex life. It's like that, right?
Hey, Molly is a saint.
Molly is a saint, and they have the
yeah, but it's
cutest
like
kids.
imagine Tyler was nationally famous
Right,
Yes.
which isn't true. Yeah, like,
for his
he's
show
not.
about, I assume, essential oils and hanging upside down with garlic necklaces or
Well,
whatever the hell it is that he does.
So here's the weird part, okay? So he keeps talking about his sex life on his podcast, which, whatever, good for him. If that's how you feel, like you want to get that out, that's cool. But I'm going to just read you some of the headlines.
Oh no.
From April 30th, E! Brooks Laich shares the state of his sex life while social distancing. 3 days ago, also from April 30th, Brooks Laich says he has a low sex drive while quarantined away from wife Julianne, which, by the way, I would not be quarantined away from my wife, but that's my personal opinion. Julianne Hough posts about the stagnant energy she is going through right now while in quarantine. Julianne Hough steps out with actor Ben Barnes. So she's been hanging out with her buddy Ben Barnes, but not Brooks during quarantine. And just going to keep going here. Here's why E! Here's why Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough are quarantining apart. And then here we go from April 21st. Julianne Hough bracing for divorce from Brooks Laich. It's almost like it's like a YouTube headline. You know what I mean? It's like, and then there's April 10th.
Third liner divorce. Sorry, I'm just picturing that thumbnail.
Julianne Hough says she has gone through some intense highs and lows this week, and that's from April 20th or 10th. Like you go back through, like seriously, you can search this on Google, and from the beginning of this year to now, and I noticed it right off the top of the year because there was a headline right at the top of the year saying that Brooks Laich, and I have to pay attention to this stuff. I have to do entertainment with Virgin Radio. It said he was going to explore different things and try to become more intimate with his sex life, but then didn't mention her. So everybody assumed that they were breaking up. I'm like, oh, that's a bummer. Like that's, you never want to see people divorce, whatever. And they're not. They're just feeding these clickbait headlines to E! News. And every time I see it come up on E! News, I'm like, what is happening here?
Who the
And
hell cares?
Well, and this is the thing. The comments underneath is like, it's people who would normally comment on an E! News post saying, I swear to God, guys, nobody cares. Like everybody's like, no one cares, no one cares, no one cares, no one cares, no one cares. But that's how it works, right? They feed stories so that E! News, TMZ, some of these other places have something to run right now because there's not much going on. So it's an opportunity to say, here's a bullshit headline and it will get run and we will get publicity because there's nothing else happening. There's no movies coming out. There's not really any new music. Nobody's doing anything controversial because no one can go out. So here's an opportunity for us to step in. It's bizarre though. Keep going back. It is bizarre. Brooks Laich makes breakfast for Julianne Hough after overcoming marriage woes. Like that's a story.
Like imagine caring about that.
Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough work up a sweat amid rumored drama.
What? So this is just like every day?
Every day, dude.
Every day.
Every day.
No couple's that interesting. No couple's interesting enough
No.
to have a daily. Why don't they just have a show?
So I'm just, well, I think that's what they're angling for.
Oh.
I think that's what they want. And so what you can do to do that is you can.
Why don't we just have a show? That's tomorrow's headline.
Well, how do you think the Kardashians started? It was the sex tape came out and Seacrest saw it. Not saw it. Well, he might have seen it. I think everybody saw it. and
Wild assumptions.
What he saw was someone who was Ray J was more famous than Kim. Ray J's the guy in the tape, by the way. And if you've seen the tape, it's not about Kim. It's about Ray J looking at Ray J.
It's
right?
Ray J's sex tape.
It's just Ray J and
Oh,
Kim
I thought
happens
it
to make an
was.
appearance.
I thought it was a brand of tape
No, it's
this whole time. I feel
oh,
silly.
yeah, I see what you're saying. So, but what happened was the reaction to her sex tape was so visceral that Ryan was smart enough to say, well, obviously people are interested in this person. She was Paris Hilton's assistant on the reality show that Paris Hilton had. Maybe we should try this. And it turned out to be the biggest reality franchise in history.
And she fought her sister the other day, and it was great.
Anyway, that's a random story. Now let's get to some hockey for a second. Now you know. Anyway, anytime that you see Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough headlines, feel free to tag me in them because I'm going to read every single one.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to come back to this at some point.
Oh man,
It's not ending.
Do you know? Okay, you know what we need to do? Do you remember NHL headlines that we used to do?
No, we're not making this a regular feature.
Send your headlines to Jesse, and then we have to guess what Brooks Laich and Julianne Hough did this week.
Yeah,
right? Come on, that's
I
a
like
fun
that.
game.
I do kind of like
gosh.
that.
I'm so concerned.
I follow all the Russian Machine people, and like Brooks, like I feel like was a fan favorite when he was with the Caps.
Huge.
But now I see them, and they're always like, anytime Elise from Russian Machine like posts words that she's muting, I feel like Brooks Laich is always on her list. It's always weird. It's always something weird, like the things you just mentioned.
It's weird. Right. It's just weird, man. You're just weird. Anyway,
strange guy.
Hey guys, maybe we'll get mentioned on How Guys Think with Gavin DeGraw and Brooks Laich. Have you ever wondered why your boyfriend thinks that way? Why did he say that? I don't know. I've never heard the show.
It's impossible that
great.
show is good. No, it's not.
I don't know.
Adam said it's probably great. I'm going to say it's probably bad. Here's the thing. Neither of us have listened or will listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now,
or will.
The NHL wants to do an early June draft. Now, you're probably thinking, why? Like, they still have to finish the season. Well, here's the issue. The NHL is down a few bucks right now. And people are saying, and I mean, we have Steve Yzerman's quote saying, why would you do that? Why do you need to do that? There's a lot of things that are affected, obviously. Draft position hasn't been established. We don't know who's in the playoffs, who's out of the playoffs in some cases. But at this time, my opinion is I haven't heard a good reason why we should do it prior to the end of the season. If we conclude the season is over, if we do conclude the season over the course of the summer. So if they are going to play these last 13 games, which I can't imagine they're going to put everybody back in. Like, I think Detroit and Ottawa are done. Right?
I bet they do.
We don't need to see them take the ice again, do we?
I bet they do.
Steve Kerr said the same thing about the Warriors. He said, because they're currently in last place in the NBA, he said he doesn't see a reason why they should come back into play. And I think that's the approach you got to take. You got to limit as many people as possible. So just cut out the bottom 5 teams.
That's interesting.
Figure it out with the rest of them.
And I haven't heard anyone argue we shouldn't play.
Well,
so that's interesting.
I don't think Yzerman would say that because that could affect ownership's like money situation, right? This could come down to they have to play because locally the TV deal says you have to play.
Yeah.
But if you're from purely from a team perspective, you look at what Steve Kerr has on his roster versus what Steve Yzerman has on his. Steve Kerr could lose another guy, another important guy to that team for another year. Like he lost Steph. You mean
due to injury?
Due to injury,
like if they play these games,
for pointless games.
Wasn't Curry like just on the verge of coming back?
He played 2 games.
Yeah, he played
before the pandemic. Yeah,
I'm back. I'm gone.
And then they lost Clay all year, and they had I think Draymond was out for a bit, so it was just D'Angelo Russell, and that's it.
And they traded,
and they get traded right for Andrew Wiggins, right?
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
So like I forgot he's a Warrior now. Crazy. The point is, I would imagine do we need to see Detroit and Ottawa play another game? Probably not. And the NHL is thinking that way too, but I wonder if the local rights deals, like TSN owns the rights to Ottawa in Ottawa.
And do you tell Eugene Melnyk, hey, we're not going to put you on the ice and you don't get any of that ad revenue? Right. And he's going to say, no, put my team on the ice. Let me sell at least 5 games here and make a little bit of money.
Well, here, let me
talk. They don't have to sell any tickets.
Yeah, let me let me talk to the teams that are playing, and we'll see if they'll split the money. And they go, no, absolutely not. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it is very messy.
Now, hold on. Let me just complete the story before we get into it, okay? 1 sec. So Chris Johnston tweeted something. And Bill Daly, by the way, authored a report, this according to Elliot Friedman, indicating the broadcast networks are on board with this plan.
Of course they are.
And that is drafting early, not about the season.
Right.
The memo also states the league needs a month to prepare. The rumor is June 5th, meaning a decision will happen early this week, like in the next few days.
Well, it's May
I
3rd,
bet it comes out as soon as the podcast is finished.
100%.
They're meeting tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
what? They'll announce it and then have the meeting.
That's probably it. Chris
It's a
Johnson
Zoom call
said this.
anyway. Who cares?
To make it as fair as possible, the league has suggested the following. For conditional trades, the league would propose solutions. The teams would have 7 days to either reform the deal on terms acceptable to both or accept the NHL's idea of what would be fair and equitable between the two teams. Number 2, using each team's point percentage to determine the order of selections. So under that format, 16 teams would be out of the lottery and 15 would be in the lottery. Makes sense, right? Changing the lottery format for this season only, you pick just one winner and you limit moving up or down to a maximum of 4 spots. Now, this would mean, and that's from Elliott's article, from CJ, sorry, that means that Detroit would be guaranteed at least number 1 or number 2 overall. Ottawa could do no worse than owning 3 or 4 overall. New Jersey, Buffalo, Montreal, Chicago could not jump into number 2, number 3, and number 4, number 5, respectively, meaning you're not going to get any of that fun, exciting. Wow, they jumped
Right.
like 7 spots. And there were a lot of like conspiracy theorists. I think Down Goes Brown had a tweet that kind of surprised me where he was like, "Oh, it's so weird that Detroit's a huge hockey market, and all of a sudden they need to have a guaranteed high pick." Like, listen, people said that about the Leafs too. Detroit is as bad as they come. They're a horrendous hockey team right now.
They're real bad.
Yeah, and yeah, they would have had a 35% chance or a 20% chance or whatever the hell chance they would have had at the number 1 overall pick. Don't tell me that it's a bad thing that they get number 1 or number 2 overall. And don't tell me that that's going to turn their franchise around. It won't. So let's just back off on the conspiracy theories here. Detroit was probably going to pick in one of those 2 spots anyway. And even if they weren't, when do you get a global pandemic?
Well,
Who cares?
I won't throw out any conspiracy theories. I'll throw out a question instead. Why? Like, why? What's wrong with the current format? Like, is the easiest thing, here's how you solve it on a 120-second Zoom call. Hey, what should we do for the draft lottery? Well, just what we currently have. Well, not everyone's played the same amount of games. Oh, that's true. Points percentage? Yeah, absolutely, since we're doing that for other things. Points percentage, but keep it the way we have it? Yep. End meeting. I didn't even need 120. That was like, what, 25? You can keep the other 95 seconds and do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't understand
But
the purpose of
let's
Detroit and this percentage. And what kind of galaxy brain? Why? For the purpose of what? So I'm not going to throw in the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're trying to give it to Detroit. And, oh, who knows? Maybe Eugene Melnyk, they're worried about him being difficult in this process for reasons that we just discussed. So they're making sure he gets a good pick too. For what purpose are they changing anything? Points percentage, do it the way you do it. Done. What's the problem?
I
Detroit's
think
still
they're
most
overcomplicating
likely.
it
Ottawa
as well.
second most likely.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Well, and I think that's less problematic. I think the Detroit and Ottawa thing are less problematic than the trades. But we'll talk about that in a second. Let me just round this sucker out with one more sentence.
Sure.
What Chris said in reply to somebody else said, what it comes down to primarily is a major marketing opportunity for the league at a time when there's a captive sporting audience. We can't go out and do things, right? Totally. And we've been without hockey. We're starved for it. And what Chris said is it could eliminate a complication if there's a short off season before 2020, 2021. So imagine, if you've got a short off season, like one thing we haven't really talked about is, okay, let's say they start the new season in 2020, 2021. When does that draft happen?
They're able to stamp a date on this if they do it early. Whereas if they let it go till the end of the season, the end of what season? Like when on earth does the 2019-2020 season end? We don't have an answer for that, and we're not going to have it for quite some time.
I think they're going about it the wrong way, though, because they're looking for something so they can entertain people with hockey. But I don't think the draft is what they should be going for. Like,
I think it's the only thing they can definitively do, though, right now.
What else could they do?
I don't. They got to come up with something else. But I don't think you mess with the draft just because you're so starved for content. Maybe you start televising practices and like workouts. Maybe you do a skills competition like the NBA did. It's just the draft doesn't. It seems like something that's so concrete. And the report about it was 106 trades happened last draft, and 64 of them would have only made it through. So nearly half of your trades wouldn't be eligible for your draft. I think you're screwing around with the league and rosters, and when you can just try and be more creative, find something else. The draft needs to happen after the season.
That is, to me, I'd say that's the biggest factor, Jesse. It's in terms of movement. It's the busiest weekend there is. I think it's even busier than the trade deadline. The conditional trades, a little arbitration and negotiation there, I don't have a huge problem with. Putting a date on it early is actually something I like. Entertaining the fans is something I like. But Jesse brings up a great point. Like, there's so many teams who get out of cap trouble at the draft. So many teams who they probably acquired players or signed contracts knowing we're getting rid of this guy at the draft. And all of a sudden now they're not going to be able to do it. So you're going to screw teams even worse than they already are by the cap.
I feel like you're making trouble for this one weekend of event.
Now, this is why I think the cap rules are going to change for the season as well. I genuinely think that. But let me read you a Pierre LeBrun tweet from 2 hours ago, guys. Let me see how this adds to the conversation. He says, I would say the Canucks are among the teams that may have warmed up to the June draft idea if it means the following the proposed layout in the NHL's Friday memo. They would much rather give up a non-lottery first-round pick to New Jersey than their unprotected first round next year. And that's from the JT Miller trade. So the teams, weirdly, that benefit from this are for it.
And then,
that's the thing about your conditional draft picks. You're screwing with them.
Would the Devils not then turn around? So, the Canucks are for this. Is the follow-up tweet the Devils are very against it?
Right.
Because they're the ones getting shafted. The Leafs have that conditional second rounder going to LA, but because the conditions can't be met, it's a third. The Leafs are for that, and the Kings go, actually.
Yeah.
This
is where you have to manage too. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Steve. 1 second.
No.
You have to manage too that everybody's been screwed in this pandemic. Everybody, every business, every person in some way, shape, or form has been screwed by this.
Equally. Well, not equally.
Not equally, but there have been degrees of screwing in most cases. Most people have had some negative effects in their lives because of this. It's a pandemic.
So screw the Devils.
It's an inherently negative thing. So if you're the NHL, do you go for fairness, which is what they've done with their dumb bullshit cap, and it's boring as hell and complicated, and I hate talking about it, or do you go for entertainment value and say, yeah, too bad, life sucks. Let's do a big draft so we can get people re-engaged in the NHL. And from that perspective, I get it.
Yeah, but I think because we shouldn't. Why are we ruling out the draft in between the season? Because you still have to have a month or 2 months in between there. So you're gonna go this long stretch with no games and no entertainment, and then you're gonna take another break for 2 months and not have any entertainment. Why not throw the draft in there and then continue when everybody's spending their money again, when everybody's back in the business, and you can watch TV and just be entertained by regular things? Why not just keep the NHL going and have your draft in there and then start the season again?
Here's okay. So then let me ask you this, just as a counterpoint to that. If there's no hockey, if the NHL provides no product, pandemic or not, are the holders of the rights of hockey, so we're talking about NBCSN, Sportsnet, TSN owns some regional rights in Canada. I don't know who else runs them, Fox Sports locally in Detroit, Dallas, whatever. Are they making payments on those? If there's no product to deliver, do they have to make payments? And that is why I think the NHL is doing something, because at least they're saying to the broadcasters, listen, you need to continue to make payments on this because we are delivering a product. And I think they need to give we're now at 2 months, right? By this point, by the draft, it'll be like 2 full months, at 2.5 months. I'm sure the broadcasters are saying, well, we're not going to make payments until you bring the league back. And the NHL is probably saying, well, we can't bring the league back until the governments allow us to bring the league back. And so what happens here is the NHL is going, screw the rules because we need some revenue and we need it now. And I think that's what's at the heart of this. This is a money decision. And if you're Rogers or you're NBC's, GE or whoever owns NBC now, are you making payments on a product that you're not getting anything for? No. Why would you? That's part of the deal. Everything's paused.
I love Jesse's idea of, well, just show practices or whatever.
I love that too. I would watch it.
Man, you would. No one's watching that.
You don't think?
No one is watching that.
I'd be so horny.
No one's watching. Dude, the Detroit thing. I don't know what the ratings are. I have no idea. And pretty much you can throw the ratings in the garbage anyway. You know, we've discussed the rating system and whatever. No one cares about the old games. Some of the recent ones, yeah. But I don't know if my LFRs are any indication. No one cares.
Right.
No one cares.
Yeah.
I also think, by the way, I should update that. The last LFR that I did was on an old game from the Laich Red Wings 93. It might be that no one cares, but I think YouTube also screwed me because of their new they screwed with their back end again, which creators love. And they basically, you have to go so specifically now on all the monetization categories. And they're like, do you say hell or damn? And that's okay. Do you drop an F-bomb? Oh, well, then they screw you there. And anyway, so that's why I've been led to believe that no one seems to really care. But I also like just no interaction on it. And if it's practice, like nothing's even at stake. You get to see someone do a cool little Zorro drill.
I would do
that one time. No one cares.
I think Jesse made a good point about like a skills comp though, because you could do that in isolation. You could do
need
like
people.
You need people. You could do like Mitch Marner versus whoever else has a great skill in the NHL, like creative, weird stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'd love to see that.
If you made it like some sort of cool head-to-head, but like Marner's got to be on a pad of ice by himself, and then this other person, wherever they are, let's say it's, I don't know, Dylan Larkin. He's got to be wherever Dylan Larkin lives, and he's got to be on a pad of ice by himself. And I don't know. I'm starting to like the draft more. You know what I mean? It's a great idea, Jesse. And if we're going for fairness, then yes, don't have the draft. I don't think they care. I just think they care about.
Yeah, I think they care more about getting some money than the fairness of the league. And
they need to restart their payments.
I don't support, like, I can't be like, oh yeah, no, do the cash grab thing. Like, I can't sit here and be like, no, we're gonna screw over half the NHL. We're gonna mess with the standings. We're gonna mess with the league and the players and the rosters and everything just because they want more money. And like that might be the right decision, but I can't be like, oh yeah, do it, because I believe in the fairness of the league and the sport.
I can tell you this. The NHL is hanging this over the Players Association. And the Players Association will come and be on their side on this one. And that is because the league will say, well, listen, if you don't do this, then we are going to lower the cap, because they are within their rights to do that. It's a 50-50 revenue split. So escrow, gone. All the players' escrow, gone. So the players are probably going, yeah, whatever, just do whatever you need to bring in some revenue, because we want our escrow check back. And we want to be able to make more money. And if the league is going to be held at $81.5 million as their cap, which is what we've heard, the players are going to go, yeah, like restart your revenue streams as soon as you possibly can. So I think the players are going to be on board with this. The question is, can you get big ownership? Like, the family that owns Detroit, the family that owns Boston, the families that, can you get the Rangers on board with this? The Leafs don't care. They don't have a first round pick. They probably don't have a horse in the race, but they probably will have an opinion. Montreal is a major factor in this. They're a major market. And
Ottawa's got 3 firsts.
Yeah. And but Ottawa's not a major market, right? I'm talking about major 5-6, top 5-6. And no offense to Ottawa, they're just not.
No, you're right.
If Eugene Melnyk goes to the Board of Governors meeting and tries to throw his weight around, people will be like, you done yet?
Okay.
Right? So, I think I understand the NHL's position on this. They're worried about lost revenue. And to get the Board of Governors involved and on board with this, you say, okay, well, listen, here are your choices. We lose our payments. And this is what I suspect anyway. The broadcast partners and our sponsors are not making payments anymore because we're not providing a product. So you either do this thing that is inherently unfair, which I agree with you, Jesse, from a sports perspective, hard to get on board with. Or you do the right business move, which is put the draft up, suck it up for a year. It's a global pandemic. Everybody's had to make some adjustments. And, you can be upset about that. You can, and I get that 100%. But I honestly see where the NHL is coming from here. They need to kick something off, and there's no way. I don't think there's going to be hockey by June 5th, right? There might not be hockey by June 25th.
Yeah.
So we got to give you something. They got to do something, and the players have got to step up here. And it's not like, it's not like Mitch hasn't been online. I think he was streaming till like 4 a.m. apparently on Friday, Saturday morning.
I believe it. And there were probably
whatever. That's great. But
there were probably
NHL,
50,000 people watching.
100%. But if you're going to do that, make sure that that's available to broadcast. Like Mitch Marner's doing that at his house. Are you telling me if you put that on Sportsnet, people wouldn't watch that? I think people would watch that.
Yeah, but I think he's going with these streamers.
Yeah. I know
companies need to approach these guys and be like, "Hey, can we?" But then that's a whole mess. Can you do it live? Can you get them to contractually agree to not swear? Is the chat displayed? Well, then how do you manage that? How do you? Is Sportsnet then at the mercy of Twitch crashing?
Well, let me ask you this:
or NBC or something like that.
You've outlined
or this guy's internet connection.
You've outlined 5 or 6 good questions. Here's my thing. What else are they doing?
No, I know.
Should take them a day to figure that out.
Right. No, you know what? But like with anything,
excuses.
with anything, you're gonna have. Yeah, you're right. With anything, you're gonna have a bunch of questions. I think a lot of them are easily answered.
Yeah. What do we pay you for? Like that would be if I'm an owner in the NHL, I'd be like, Gary, what do we pay you for?
Nah.
Solve the question.
If I'm the streamer, what do you pay me for?
Oh,
those guys.
You write them a check for $10,000. Whatever.
10,000.
Dude, come on.
A lot more than that.
Okay. Whatever.
You're gonna show my game nationally, and I got thousands and thousands of followers on a site that's impossible to get followers on. You're giving me a lot more than 10.
Okay, fine. Then we pay more than $10,000 for an hour. $10,000. Come on.
Oh, for an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
That problem solved, man. This is easy. This is what I'm talking about.
Should be on my TV all 24 hours. But like for real though.
I'm just saying. I think there are. It goes back to what you said earlier, Steve. It's get on the call. We should do this. This is the logical thing, right? Okay, done. Easy. Now, I got a question about something, and this is the thing, Jesse and Steve, that I was so looking forward to talk to you guys about. So in Elliot Friedman's article, and this was mentioned, this is a part of the memo from what we understand. I want to go back to this. For conditional trades, the league would propose solutions. Now, the teams would have 7 days to either reform the deal on terms acceptable to both teams, or you accept the NHL's idea. So how well do we think that's going to go?
So I'm the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
Steve, I come to you. I say, I'm going to trade you my 3rd round pick and you give me William Nylander. The NHL says, well, we can't really trade Nylander because we're going to restart the season in a month and you're going to have to figure out a different solution. What do we do there?
Well, it's not quite that, from what I understand. It's trades that have already been made.
So, like, for example, the Leafs traded a conditional, I think it's 3rd, to or wins X amount
6
of games.
games. If he won 6 games.
If he wins 6 games, the 3rd turns into a 2nd. Or if they re-sign Kyle Clifford. Now, if you're the Leafs, knowing that you got – if you're the Leafs, you got to be considering whether or not you re-sign Kyle Clifford anyway. But there's also absolutely no reason to hurry that process up, because you might just get out of this condition. So if you're the Kings now, you have a legitimate beef with all this. If the NHL goes, the resolution is it's a 3rd. But what if the NHL then goes, the resolution is it's a 3rd, but the Leafs also have to give up an additional 6th? Or the NHL goes, tell you what, it's a 2nd. The Kings give you a 5th, though. Or something like that. And then the Kings, I think, would be within their right to be like, what are we giving up a 5th for?
Right. How do you justify the fairness?
Right.
They're making it up.
And this is the part that's crazy.
Ridiculous.
The NHL is always going to be the bad guy in this. So teams,
yeah.
the teams are never going to figure out something that's really that fair and equitable between the two. Like if you take that Toronto LA trade, like LA is going to be like, no, give us the second, and Toronto's going to be like, nah, we don't want to. So then the NHL says, here's the offer, and everybody hates the NHL.
Okay, but then what happens if the draft happens and they go ahead and they use that pick, and then
It would be figured out before then, I would think.
It would have to be.
It'd have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have to, or maybe
It's going to be so much fun to see the proposed NHL trades.
maybe
it wouldn't be fun.
can't
You're ruining the rosters.
no, but let's
How is that
now,
fun?
wait though. There was a year or two where the league just randomly decided, okay, employees who you fired, all of a sudden you got to give up a draft pick.
Yeah.
Second and third round picks, valuable picks, were surrendered because friggin' Lou Lamoriello got fired, or
And
Mike
Bab's contract expired.
Right? What
His
is
contract
Detroit getting
expired.
anything for that?
The Leafs give up a lot of picks.
Chiarelli cost the Oilers a second round pick. Based on what? And then they got rid of that rule. Did those teams get those picks back
No.
because the NHL decided
But
it
the
was
Devils got their
rule?
first rounders
No.
back for Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah.
Because they make it up. So let's not pretend. I love Jesse, bless your heart, the whole fairness
Pure
thing.
and
It's
fair.
never existed.
No.
It's never. I was once like you, young and believing in others. Abandon it, Jesse. The world is bullshit. Life is awful, and the Devils always keep their first. Don't you know this? It's how it works. But the
National
Leafs
Hockey
have to
League
surrender a fourth rounder because they talked to Jonas Frogren in a way that they shouldn't have. That happened.
That was worth it.
No, it wasn't.
Yikes.
The Leafs gave Jonas Frogren $500,000 so he could buy himself out of his contract in Sweden, and it cost him a pick. Jonas Frogren! Anyway. It's never been
So
fair.
we're agreed that, okay, can we agree on, so we're
No.
all three of us are agreed on one thing. We don't love the idea from a fairness perspective,
It's
correct?
terrible.
No, it's terrible
Right.
from a fairness perspective.
So we all agree on that.
Yeah.
Can we all agree, though, that we're all pretty excited for it anyway?
Yes.
There'll be too many upset people for it to be fun.
Will you have fun, Jesse? I'm asking you.
Too many
I have
upset
fun doing
people.
everything.
There you go. See?
But,
So we're going
yes.
to have some fun anyway. Fuck it. Who cares? Hey, Leafs don't have a first round. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Sure.
No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
and that pick that's conditional too.
Is it?
It's
Yeah.
technically in the balance. Like if the Leafs were to miss the playoffs this year,
Mhm.
I'm here. What are the
They wouldn't based on points percentage, though. They'd be fine.
Okay, so what about if the playoffs got expanded afterwards?
Yeah, does that count as a playoff berth if you have to play in the play-in?
But then, like, okay, let's say if
I have no idea.
they have the draft on June 5th, and then after in July they're like, okay, we're gonna hold a tournament for the Stanley Cup, and then like 20 teams made that tournament. Do you get your picks back because technically you made this tournament and that's the playoffs?
It'll be like the 80s where only like 5 teams missed the playoffs.
Right.
I'm so excited.
But that's not the playoffs. I don't know, because you already lost your pick.
Yeah.
So-
I don't know.
The Hurricanes are actually a really interesting player in all this. What on earth? Okay, so the first rounder that the Leafs gave the Hurricanes for Patrick in the Patrick Marleau deal, the condition, if the Leafs pick is top 10 in 2020, the Hurricanes will receive Toronto's 2021 first round pick. Now, if the season, if they play out the rest of the season, it is still very possible the Leafs could miss the playoffs. Then they go into the draft lottery, and all of a sudden that's a top 10 pick, and then they can choose to move it. But with by screwing with the draft lottery system, that might not be able to happen then, the Leafs moving into the top 10. So that's really confusing. Also confusing, the Hurricanes then gave a first-round pick to the Rangers for Brady Shea that is either, I believe, their own first-round pick or this pick from the Leafs.
But we don't know
But we don't know. The Rangers will receive the later or lower
of the two.
of
The
either
worst
the
pick.
Hurricanes or 2021 first-round, blah, 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 blah. That is complicated as hell. Like the
Right.
the Hurricanes on their own. How the hell do you solve this? What a mess. There's another conditional first-round pick just a couple picks later that the Wild got from the Penguins for Jason Zucker. Conditions: if Pittsburgh misses the 2019-2020 playoffs, Pittsburgh has the option to send their 2021 first-round pick. All right, we're not going to have to worry about that probably. There's another first-round. Oh, my God. It's all over the place. It's all
So
over
with
the
all
place.
of these things, we're still like, hey, let's do the draft and run the risk.
I'm looking forward to it.
If the New York Islanders win the draft, so the Islanders gave the Sens a first-round pick for the Peugeot deal. If the Islanders win the draft lottery and select top 3, the pick becomes a 2021 first-round pick. The Islanders, at the time the season finished, were not guaranteed to win to make the playoffs, and they were under the old draft lottery system. Why are we calling it old? It's current. It's still the draft lottery system. But if they screw with it, then that pick cannot be top 3. But then if you're the Sens, you're like, but we put that condition there for a reason. Why are you now screwing with? So changing the draft lottery, going back to that, it's so stupid and nonsensical unless you do the points percentage thing, which to me is that makes perfect sense. Screwing with the draft lottery screws with the conditions of almost all the picks I just mentioned. Why are they doing this again? Like, I go back to...
that is one thing they don't need to change. They could just do the draft lottery.
Yeah.
They could just do it.
Just do it. Even if you did it with the 10 teams or 11 teams that you knew were out. Like, if you're talking about the play-in teams, right, the teams that are within 5 or 6 points or whatever it is, however you want to cap that, I can understand you leaving those teams out of the lottery. But there are at least 10, probably 14 teams that had no shot in hell of making it. Right? Well, not 14, maybe 12.
Sure.
So why not just include them in the lottery? Because the lottery is an exciting part. The lottery is part of the excitement that would make June 5th interesting. And you don't need to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that part doesn't make sense. And I understand why it's created the conspiracy theory. Well, Detroit's a big market. We need them to be good, blah, 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 blah. That's not what's happening, I don't think.
Out of all the
It's
things
odd.
we just mentioned, the thing that makes the least sense to change is the weight of the draft lottery. Why? Mid-season? Mid-season, you're going to change the... Okay. Like, if they do that, then the fairness discussion, throw it out the window. Throw it out the window, nothing's fair. Like, that's absurd. Why are they doing this? Weighted by points
None of
percentage.
it's fair, Steve. I think
None of it's fair, but that's the fairest.
The whole thing.
That's the most fair by far.
If we're working under the assumption that they just want to have this draft in June, then you got to throw out everything, Then none of it, if nothing's fair, then who cares?
And come back with, you know what? We're changing lots of things.
Right.
The sticks are metal.
Sure.
Harder
Again.
shots. Like the sticks are this is the aluminum stick era of the NHL. We're bringing it back. Why not? Goalie pads are also, they're made of gold. And what else? What else? What other ridiculous things? Oh, every year 2 rec league teams are included in the NHL just to show how good the rest of the teams are.
Okay,
What? What?
All right.
Everything's on the table,
All right,
apparently.
all right.
It is, though.
You're all right.
That's the whole point of this discussion is that everything is on the table now because everything's on the table.
The NHL has a partnership with German Hockey Tier 2.
Can you hang on?
Where
Somebody's
every
walking
year-
around in my backyard. Can you just hang on for just a second?
Oh, we could pause.
What?
I need to watch it
Yeah,
anyways.
hang on. So, okay, let me tell you this. So, I have a house that I will not live in much longer, but basically, it's in a bit of a tricky part of town from time to time, and people can just walk into my backyard because it's not really a backyard; it's my driveway, which is off of an alleyway, and there's a fair amount of stuff going on in the neighborhood that would be nefarious. So, I was just checking to make sure everything was good. And that's why my dog Bindi likes to be out there because she she patrols the joint. So it's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just weird. Somebody was just like, it's weird. I can't tell you how weird it is to look out your back window and just see a complete stranger walking by your car. And my cars are parked like back to front, back like that. So you can like one in front of the other. So you can tell when somebody's just there because they're not supposed to be. There's no room to maneuver. Anyway. Long story short, welcome to the last 2 years of my life.
Wow. That's good. That's why I like having Charlie. Nothing gets past him.
It's true.
He's
Not
just
even
a car
poop.
alarm.
Not even poop. Not even
especially his own. He loves
to eat his own poop.
Loves his own poop. The food we get him so nice he eats it twice.
Oh, God.
Loves it.
Is it an instant, like as soon as it comes in and hits the ground, or is it if it sits there a little bit, he goes back to it?
Oh, Jesse, it's variety. And here's the thing: he's got a sensitive stomach, so every time he gets up in the middle of the night, we got to rush down the stairs, and my wife's always like, "God, what could he have eaten?" And I'm like, he eats his own shit, love. He eats his own shit. Yeah, but he always eats his own shit. Yeah, and sometimes it makes him do it again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Steve Dangle Podcast. My name is
Can you imagine eating poo and then vomiting poo?
I wonder if it tastes good to him.
That's a lot.
You know? I wonder if to him it's like, it tastes good.
Oh, this is...
Yeah.
Jesse,
so good.
There is nothing I eat every single day that I don't think is delicious. You know what I mean? He must love it.
Is it every single day?
We don't know. We don't know. And this is the problem. So we have that hole in our fence in the backyard so he and the neighbor dogs can go play.
Yeah.
So we can pick up after him. It doesn't matter. He goes in that yard to go to his other poop stash that he saved for later. For a little midnight snack or whatever. Yeah. That's his pantry. The other neighbor's yard. Welcome to the Steve Dangle Podcast.
Yo, Steve, can we talk about the dog that moved in next door?
Sure. Well, they've been there for over a year, but this friggin' thing.
Jesse, this is insane. This story. This is insane.
Okay.
I'll send you the video after. But this dog, it's like 40 pounds. It's not very big, but it's just made of. That's what it's made of. Just.
Is it a pit bull? What kind of dog is it?
Boxer.
I think it's got some pit bull in it. They're not totally sure what the dog is. I think it's got some pit bull. I think it's mostly
It's definitely boxer, dude. It springs like a boxer, man.
And this dog is now close to 2 years old. So it's at like its peak fitness, about as strong and fast as it's ever going to be. This friggin' dog clears the fence now.
What?
There's no hole going back and forth between our yard and our next door neighbor's yard. And by the way, we like these neighbors. So I'm not dumping on them.
No.
This dog clears the fence now.
How tall is the fence?
It's at least...
The fence is taller than I am. The fence would be like up here on me if I was standing next to
you.
you.
It's at least your height, Jesse. So this little dog, probably this high off the ground.
Yep.
Like less than 2 feet.
And
it clears the
7 foot. It jumps 7 feet in the air.
At least the 6.5 foot fence. And then so it's even more alarming to look at than it just jumping clean over it. It doesn't. What it does is it jumps up onto the fence, grabs the top of it, does a full like military pull up. Like it claws the wooden fence with its back legs, has its paws up on the top, and just goes like friggin' Hapthorne Bjornsson or whatever his name is.
Steve sent me a video last week, Jesse, of this dog, and the dog is on the neighbor's back deck. Okay. And it's about level with where Steve's back deck is. And it's standing on like the railing. And it's looking in Steve's kitchen.
It looks straight at me and goes, "Where's my
barking.
food?"
Like he just
what?
He sits there and he stares at Steve and barks at him from their backyard. And then you know how when you have a fence, you've got sort of the blinded spot, and then there's like a bit of lattice work, so you can talk to your neighbor through it's like that crisscrossing wood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the lattice work is gone.
He
just blew it out.
The little clip that I was able to get on my phone, it jumps up like you see it shake the fence. This is easily the smallest dog out of the 4 in our little group, and like it's just you see it shake the fence and just knock out panels of wood. Like we're gonna replace the fence pretty soon, hopefully, when that's a legal thing you're allowed to do.
Right.
But this dog, again, military, like it's surreal when you see it get up that high and then you're like, uh-oh, they're stuck. What are they gonna, nope. Like it just climbs up and now it just does it at will. It's just every now and then I'll be like, what the oh, right. It's,
yeah.
That dog
It
just
pops
goes
the
to and
fence.
fro. But now,
crazy.
and it's bonus for that dog.
You know what? You gotta send that video without sound, because I think there's some swearing in it. But you gotta send that video to Jesse so we can insert it in the video so people can know what we're talking about. Of it just like threatening Steve from its own backyard. 40-pound dog. I don't know how many pounds Steve, ready to mess Steve up.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, man.
And it's just looking at me. What are you doing there? And I live here.
Awesome.
And of course, Iggy trained from birth.
Mhm.
When she jumps into the backyard, Iggy always comes to us and like sits next to us because he's such a kiss ass, and he's just like, see how I didn't do what she did.
Yeah.
Charlie's not interested in any of that.
He's
There's
out
an
there
intruder
barking
in
and
the
eating his own poo.
Oh.
Anyway, the Blackhawks, and we didn't mention this in the last episode because we were, tied up with other things, and we were talking to Danny Ryland and stuff. If you want to check that out, you should check out that interview. It was fun. Blackhawks fired the guy that basically took over right at the start of their last, of their run. His name's John McDonough. If you're not a Blackhawks fan, you probably don't know who he is. But what you need to know about John is he's basically the business face of the Blackhawks. President, CEO, it was basically John and Stan Bowman and Joel Quenneville for a while. And obviously Jeremy Colton is in that now. And what's interesting about this firing is right before we went into the pandemic, Bill Wirtz was asked, is anybody's head on the chopping block here? And he said, nope, everything's fine. Now, according to Bob McKenzie, Rocky Wirtz, who is Bill's son, from what I understand anyway, this is the rumor, they weren't getting along. And so if you don't get along with ownership, be it father or son, you're probably not going to be there very long. But it's very, very interesting to see this with the Blackhawks because it's a very odd time to let go of the business face of your franchise. You think about this, right? Right now, what every team needs, what every organization, what every business, just in general, outside of the NHL needs is stability. You need somebody, especially on the business side of things, who's been there, knows the product inside and out. People are familiar with them. The guy's been here 9 years. And it just makes me wonder about the timing of this firing. Middle of a pandemic, when you need stability the most, why let him go now?
And it's okay though. They replaced him with another longtime NHL CEO, right?
They didn't have a replacement.
No, but who's they must have an interim replacement.
They do have
right?
an interim.
Do they have an
Yeah.
I didn't see
It's
that.
Rocky Wirtz,
Yeah.
Oh, is it Rocky Wirtz?
Yeah.
which made a lot of people go, pardon me, what?
Oh,
Beg your pardon?
So Jay Blunk, a guy who is a current executive and vice president, was hired as McDonough's right-hand man in 2008. He's going to be there, or he's one option, I guess. Danny Wirtz is the guy, I guess, who's going to step in with the interim tag and become president until such time as either they find another one. Damn. Wow.
Oh, is it Danny, not Rocky?
Apparently it's Danny.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's Danny, who was the VP and alternate governor.
Right. So it makes me wonder this. Maybe, and this happens, right? I mean, it happened with the president of the Senators when he was let go. You don't get along with ownership, you're not going to be there. But is this a family? It's a family business with the Blackhawks. There's family taking control of their franchise, and is there anything wrong with that? Is right now the time too, right?
It is a bit odd because Wirtz is such a complicated name, I think, with the Blackhawks, because who was the
patriarch,
the man named Wirtz who was around he was essentially
Bill Wirtz Sr.? I think it
might have been. Yeah, and or maybe Rocky Wirtz Sr. I can't remember. But he was essentially that franchise's who was the awful guy for the Leafs? I just completely blanked on his name.
That was Harold Ballard.
Harold Ballard. So he was essentially their Ballard. You couldn't get Blackhawks games on TV because they wanted people to go to the arena.
Yeah.
This
is Bill Wirtz Sr. So William Wadsworth Wirtz was his name. WWW.
Wadsworth?
Yeah. He was the World Wide Web before the World Wide Web existed.
Wow.
And it's funny, it's interesting. When you look at this, he's a chief executive officer and controlling shareholder of the family-owned Wirtz Corporation, best known as the owner of the Blackhawks of the NHL. And as soon as he let go of the reins, like in 2007, which is when I believe he died,
yes,
the Blackhawks started to get really good.
Yeah, well, they had
Like,
just
really good.
drafted Jonathan
Odd timing.
Taves. They had just drafted Jonathan Taves 3rd overall. They then went on to draft Patrick Kane 1st overall and basically got immediately good.
Yeah.
So maybe a little column A, a little column B, but their games are very well attended. And now it's like the NHL's been making up for decades of them not being on TV and are just giving them everything.
Does it not always seem like there's always a story of infighting coming out of the Blackhawks organization? Because the rumor, I don't think it's a rumor, but everybody knows Stan Bowman doesn't really get along with anybody there. You know? Like, I always feel like we always get these stories.
I mean, there's no question there's dysfunction in the Blackhawks organization. It's just a matter of what is the dysfunction. Could it have been John McDonough? Maybe. And maybe it's John McDonough who said, I don't want to let Stan Bowman go. Or maybe it's Stan Bowman going, nah, John McDonough needs to go. It depends on, and when you get into family situations in business, it can be very political, right? People get very positional very quickly.
I don't know if we were planning on talking about The Last Dance, but
We'll get there.
Yeah, I was just blown away by the Jordan and Krause infighting, right? The GM of the Bulls and Michael Jordan, and me just going, what is it with Chicago teams like just not being able to cope with their own success?
Yeah.
Like, Stan Bowman wanted to fire Joel Quenneville for so long, and it's like, man, you have the best team in the league. Stop.
Right.
Stop. Leave it.
Because your ego gets in the way. Because
Which
you
is
hate each
exactly
other.
what happened with the Bulls.
100%. Now, here's the interesting thing. So, just reading from the Wikipedia article, Wirtz was also blamed for the Blackhawks Stanley Cup drought, which was the second longest in NHL history and the longest in team history. It was the second longest until they won. The Leafs longest. Under the ownership of Wirtz, the Chicago Blackhawks were named ESPN's in 2004 the worst franchise in sports by ESPN in 2004. In 2002, ESPN ranked Wirtz as the 3rd greediest owner in all of sports. And this is back when, get this, ESPN used to run the NHL. The NHL and ESPN had been partners right up until that 2006 lockout for 26 years, right from the start. The ESPN had hockey right from the start. So this is when ESPN was a rights holder for the NHL, and they're calling the Blackhawks the worst franchise in sports, and Wirtz the 3rd greediest owner of all of sports.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Imagine Sportsnet saying that about any NHL owner.
Just writing an article like that?
Yeah,
Like
man.
a listicle? It's just worst
Wouldn't
people?
Wouldn't happen. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, but
is
like,
the interesting. Like, they don't. Do they even call Eugene Melnick greedy? I think they'll just call him like brash and volatile, and they're never like that greedy bastard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jacobs has an opinion, and he said something strongly worded.
He's just no nonsense CEO who occasionally berates other owners and doesn't pay people. Like
Yeah.
no, they just go, no, he's brash. Oh, he's cantankerous. But you got to be a little cantankerous to get to that blue.
It's my
They
favorite.
don't actually
Well,
call
you got to be thick-skinned to work for him.
So he's a
So he's
prick.
shitty.
Yeah.
He's shitty. Anyway, very, very interesting. And along with The Last Dance, you're absolutely right, Steve. You're talking about a team that won an unprecedented amount of games and playoffs. Forget the cups. Just think about the amount of playoff series the Hawks won, right? In that 5 to 6 year span. Unbelievable.
There
They
were
were
so
always
many
in the
years
second or third
where-
round minimum.
I think were it not, maybe I'm misremembering, were it not for the Kings in 2014, the Blackhawks could have won 3 straight.
Yeah.
They could have won 2013, 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
They still won 2 out of 3. They won 3 in 6. And they're still like it was just amazing to me that after all that success, they could then go on to make a trade where like Joel Quenneville storms off on camera when he finds out about it. That was the Halmerson deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was a bad deal.
Yeah. They seem to be just great at getting in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was with The Last Dance, Jordan is like going off with a championship hat on. Like that was mind blowing to me. Like I want my team to one day be champions and get to experience that moment. And Jordan's sitting there, and it's so old hat to them that he's going on a tirade on the microphone because he's unhappy with ownership of the team he just won his 5th championship with.
Mhm.
Like, just sorry, are we transitioning to The Last Dance right now? Sorry. So
You made that decision.
Sorry,
Go
my
on.
bad.
I think we're there, Steve. That's like, hey, do you want to make a right-hand turn as you've made it? Well, and to
You
that
guys want
point,
Burger King and McDonald's while we're in the McDonald's drive-thru. So.
the Bulls of that era, I don't believe, had a salary cap. Like, Michael Jordan was making the same amount of money that LeBron James makes right now.
Yeah, he was the highest paid pro athlete in sports at the time.
$36 million a year or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
so I didn't realize I don't remember the beginning of Jordan's career, obviously, because I think it started before I was born.
It did.
But like, I always thought those Bulls just always were, just because I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize Dennis Rodman was there for one. He was there for one championship out of the 6?
No. He was
3,
there
I think.
for, I think, the whole second half of the
Didn't
run.
they win 95, 97, 98 with him?
Yeah.
Because 96, Jordan was out.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was traded there in 95, man.
No,
Yeah.
because I thought Pippen wasn't there for the
93.
beginning of Rodman being there.
No, Pittman was there.
Pippen was there, yeah.
Yeah.
Pippen was there for all the last ones and with Rodman.
All of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the interesting thing for me, and this is what I found, they talk about the rivalry with Detroit in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, 89, 90. You know, they cannot get past Detroit. They cannot get past Detroit.
When Rodman is on Detroit.
When Rodman's on Detroit. And they're just, and you realize how physical basketball used to be, right? You know, there was like, I mean, it's still physical now, but back then there was some crazy stuff going on the court, and they weren't getting kicked out for it.
Oh, it was in 95. I'm sorry.
So
That's okay.
what I found fascinating about that, or at least just about is at least for me, the parallel between Toronto and Boston, and the fact that Boston does currently everything that Detroit is doing in that replay tape. And what I found interesting about the Bulls situation, when they talk about Horace Grant complaining, remember? They talked about that, where it's like, oh, once they complain, they've got to you. The Leafs, and we're guilty of this too, tried to bitch our way past Boston. Tried to complain, and there's more fans than the team. The team, they're not really big complainers. But you can look at Sidney Crosby's career as an example of this too. The refs are not going to call the same game in the playoffs. That's just the way it is. So what the Bulls did was they got tougher. They kept getting tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher, and they did it eventually.
The Blues out Bruins the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final. They were by far the dirtier team.
Yeah, the montage of MJ, they're like, oh, he came back after that summer and he put on an extra 20 pounds of muscle just because he knew he couldn't be that skinny athletic dude anymore. He needed to have just some bulk on him to compete with Detroit.
Right.
That's-
and him,
it was genius.
Him passing to John Paxson.
Yeah. just like pass the ball a couple times.
I guess I'll pass to John Paxson.
I'm always amazed when I see things like, and then the pro athlete decided I will then start working out. I'm like,
Yeah. Because you don't realize how much of those sports are just cardio. You know, there's running up. It's like soccer and basketball. It's really just cardio. So you're losing so much muscle because you're doing so much running. So you have to do this extra amount to keep up with running back and up and down a court all day.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to really start training. And then, So pro athletes all the time are just like, I started hitting the gym. And it's like, what?
I started doing that thing that everyone assumed I was doing the whole time, but wasn't.
Yeah.
I loved
And
when they interviewed his trainer too, Tim Grover. You guys should read that book. It's called Relentless: From Good to Great to Unstoppable. I read that when I was on vacation in February.
Okay.
Dude, what a great book. Not necessarily for the storytelling element, but you get a bit of a preview. You get a look at Michael's and Kobe's commitment to what they were, the commitment to the sport, the commitment to greatness, and what it really takes. And it's an attitude. It's all an attitude. And it's funny to watch Michael Jordan's attitude evolve. And I just wonder, you know, with those young Bulls, right? You know, it was just basically the Michael Jordan show. And then they institute that triangle system under Phil Jackson and that guy who was their offensive guy. And I wonder with the Leafs, you know, they went through with Michael Jordan. It was 85 he started.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't win a championship until 91.
And they talked about him.
That's
they
6 or
talked
7
about him,
years.
Yeah, and they talked. It was a fascinating time capsule because I always thought he was always talked about as the greatest and this unstoppable man. They were talking about him the way they talk about LeBron James, and this guy always
talk about LeBron. Yeah,
he can't win. Some people still talk about LeBron, and he's got what
3
championships?
3, but he went to 7 in a row.
Yeah, but only
That's
3.
Wild, wild.
Yeah.
That he went to 7 in a row. Yeah, but it surprised me how long it took.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this last season, and I think you have to keep this in perspective. People talk about Super Mario Lemieux being the most skilled player of all time, and they're probably right. Mario Lemieux missed the playoffs the first 5 years he was in the league, and this is when the league had 21 teams. The league had 21 teams, and the Penguins didn't make it till like 1990. And then they got eliminated in the first round, and then I think they won the next 2 years.
Actually, so when was Michael Jordan drafted?
The same year, I think. I think they came in around the same time.
I think they were drafted same year, 84, and then won their first championship, 91.
Both of them. Yeah, and
That's
followed it up the
wild.
next year. Both of them followed it up the next year.
And you could argue both are the best player ever.
Yeah.
Argue. And both had retired and then came back for obviously very different reasons.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show that this stuff takes time, right? And you have to have that team that you overcome. Otherwise, there's going to be, when you get down to the fact that there's, and the Leafs, if the NHL wasn't stupid, from a fairness perspective, the Leafs and Bruins would be meeting round 2 or round 3. But because of the way they've set things up, and I can't imagine Bruins fans are thrilled with this either because they have to play Toronto-Tampa or Tampa-Toronto. It's not fun. Or Tampa's got to play Toronto. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a fun setup. Those teams normally would meet later on in the playoffs. And I look at those and I think, okay, so yes, they lost two heartbreakers recently, one heartbreaker 7 years ago, but who cares about that one? If they do want to win, they're going to have to beat their Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, same thing with Washington and Pittsburgh. Washington couldn't do it until they knocked off Pittsburgh.
That's right. And they stopped bitching about the calls or the calls that they weren't getting, and they played the game. And that's what that's what the Leafs are going to have to do. And remember, too, Michael Jordan went through 2 coaches before Phil came, right? There was 2 coaches. One of them, was the head coach, and then Phil Jackson's the assistant. That
Also, the team got better around Jordan, too.
True.
Right. They got better players and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought there were some fascinating parallels. We'll see if the Leafs can ever get themselves over the top.
Speaking of the coaching situation, I find the most ridiculous thing about the entire doc is that if you just don't decide you want to do a rebuild at that time, you get to keep Michael Jordan.
And potentially win in 99.
The whole premise of it is he doesn't want to keep Phil Jackson around because he wants to rebuild the team, but maybe if you just keep Phil Jackson around, you get to keep the greatest player of all time and just pay him his money. It's
Why don't you fire the GM?
Right. Krause is so ridiculous.
Find a guy who can work with Phil Jackson.
Right. He's like, this is Phil's last year. Like, no. Why?
Also, if you're going to rebuild, why start with the coach?
Right.
Like, you rebuild because you're getting...
He needed to get rid of Phil Jackson to start the rebuild because then he gets rid of Michael, then he gets the whole team back, and he gets to start his own little thing.
Or just do that anyway. Like, you're the GM. Like, do these guys all have no trades or something?
No.
If they do, then sure.
But that's the part that's weird to me is that, they had, like Jesse said, no salary cap, all the money in the world, and beyond all of that.
And the best team in the world.
And the best team in once, not in a generation, not once in a lifetime, once ever player.
Yeah.
But once ever player who is the biggest basketball brand on earth to this day, 25 years later.
Wild.
It is crazy to me that they would even consider doing anything other than, Michael, what do you want to do? If I'm the GM, I go, Michael, how do you want this to play out? Okay, we'll make that happen. And if Michael Jordan in a few years after that is down to 20 points a game, but there are players around him learning from Michael Jordan, fine. He's still Michael Jordan. He's still the brand.
right now, that's how it would work. Like the star player would tell the GM, hey, I want this to happen. Don't fire this coach. And then the GM would listen. Because this is the greatest player of all time who's talking to you, and you want to keep the greatest player around. You're going to build around him. But it's so strange to me. I want to see how it ends in like Jordan's reasonings for retirement and just in quitting basketball entirely after that season, because I want to see how he just came to that determination. You know, why he couldn't just fight through and not have Phil there, but also why they couldn't just bring Phil back.
Or just sign with the Raptors, man. Just sign with the Raptors.
It is, or there's that. Also, the him frigging off to baseball for a year and a half.
Yeah,
Well,
that'll be
there's
a
a
fun
whole
couple
story there.
episodes. Yeah.
They gotta, the 30 for 30 on it's really good, but they still, if I'm not mistaken, either of you feel free to jump in, but if I'm not mistaken, he's still never given a satisfactory reason for why.
They say in the next, I think it's the next like 3-ish episodes, you get that little peek. You get the Olympics, the dream team, and then you get the baseball stuff. So I don't know what happens in it, but they're gonna do it, and he's gonna be there. He's gonna provide some reasons. So I'm interested to see.
Imagine if Gretzky left the Oilers in '86 to play soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
like it's
Why?
it's the single craziest thing that any star player in any sport has done.
Mhm.
Is it? Well, there was the whole OJ thing, but
Yeah.
there it is.
OJ wins, but
Outside of criminal activity,
Yeah.
this one tops it. Outside of criminal activity, like dude, the guy left for he changed sports. The only thing that comes close is playing two at once.
The weird thing is, too, people sort of just accepted it. They were like, wow, I guess that's
I
crazy.
guess he plays baseball.
All right, we're big White Sox fans now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
what?
weird. And then they incorporated it into Space Jam.
Yeah.
It was in Space Jam. That he
It was
playing
then in
baseball.
a Bugs Bunny movie.
Yeah.
The best basketball player in the world changed sports, and it became part of a Bugs Bunny movie.
Mhm.
By the way,
It's a ridiculous thing.
total aside with The Last Dance, I can't get over how much Jordan and his mom have the same eyes. Like exact same eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
I'm
never
looking at
even
him like,
noticed.
damn, that is for sure. Like, wow. If you saw them on the street, it's like, yeah, father or mother, son, for sure. Like you could just tell. Anyway, stupid, but
I like the Dennis Rodman episode was good too.
oh,
Very good.
That was a good
awesome.
one. Yeah.
Very
You have a little bit of sympathy for once for Dennis Rodman, right?
Mhm.
It's sort of this guy had a tough life. He's living on this street, and all of a sudden he's in the NBA. Like
Also,
that's pretty cool.
I feel like people don't talk enough about how he's just a bisexual athlete playing at the highest level on the biggest championship team, and he's just being himself. You know,
Yeah,
and
in
that's
the
the
90s.
90s.
Yeah, and
People
he's
don't do
dressed
that
as a woman.
today.
Like, yeah,
It's great. So my wife is becoming like a bigger and bigger sports fan, and I think her top sport is basketball. And I love watching these docs with her because like she doesn't bother to go back and look at the history, and he dated Madonna?
Yeah.
Like you should have she was shocked.
The Carmen Electra interview is crazy too. She's like, yeah, Michael Jordan just came to the hotel room to get him out of bed when he was hungover.
Because she didn't know the schedule.
Yeah. She's like, I didn't even know what he was doing. I don't know. Like,
She thought they just had a week off.
yeah. Yo, I had
That's so good.
a ton of respect for him based on that story. And the one thing I'm upset about, because you're right, Jesse, he was just himself. He just was himself in the 90s when that was very avant-garde, very out there. You know,
Yeah.
Ellen hadn't even come out on TV yet. There was no Will and Grace. Like any of the things that sort of opened the door a little bit in terms of pop culture, Dennis was on the forefront of some of that. What they didn't get into enough is how does Dennis Rodman go from being kicked out of his house by his mom to living on the street to, he's in college now?
Yeah, I
How?
feel like
Where did they just see him playing pickup? Like, how did that happen?
well, you could do a The Last Dance series, like a full-length series on each player they've discussed so far. Like you could do Michael Jordan, you could do Jordan versus Krause, you could do Scottie Pippen, you could do Dennis Rodman. Like who's next? Does anyone know? Well, I guess we're going to find out tonight.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the
the
Americans are
next
gonna
couple
go-
episodes are more the deep dive on Jordan and seeing his because they say this is where you're going to see how much of an asshole he really was and how much winning made him into a dick. So I
Interesting.
want to see that. Yeah.
You know, it's funny growing up. everybody had a Michael Jordan something or Chicago Bulls something. Remember those starter jackets that everybody had?
I had a Chicago Bulls baseball jersey.
There you go. I had a Michael Jordan jersey when he came back. So I still have it. It's a Bulls jersey, but it says 45 on it. Because that was his number when he came back.
For that little couple, it's not even like a half. It's like a couple games. It's like 20 games or something.
So I have like a kid's 45 Jordan jersey. Weird. But you knew in the neighborhood, you knew the kids that knew basketball from the kids that didn't. The kids that didn't know basketball as well, like me, you'd wear Michael Jordan stuff. If you knew basketball, the kids that were like, yo, whatever, I'm a hipster on this, they had Scottie Pippen jerseys. And it's because
they're being difficult.
And they're being difficult, but they wanted to show that they were different and they knew that what they were talking about. And those kids, the kids with the Scottie Pippen jerseys, could fucking play. Yeah. I never saw a kid with a Scottie Pippen jersey who was like, nah, I can't play basketball. Scottie Pippen. No way. No way.
Yeah, underrated part of the documentary is that people will realize that Scottie Pippen was a big part of the team. It's not because he's kind of getting lost. He got lost to history because it's like, oh, this is the Michael Jordan Bulls. But no, Scottie Pippen was like the Klay Thompson today. He's a very good player. He could probably have his own team. It's just he's got to be the number 2 on the greatest team ever.
And I started watching basketball regularly, that playoff run against the Utah Jazz when they were in I think the last time they were in the finals, which was against the Utah Jazz, I think. And then Pippen joined the Blazers the next year, the Trailblazers. Wasn't it the Pippen? And that's when it was weird. And that's when the Raptors were on the upswing. Right around that time, they got Vince Carter and Charles Oakley and some of those other guys. But anyway, really fascinating stuff. I'm just going to see what else I had listed here. There is something I thought we should probably throw out there. So let me ask you this. So if you guys have a product that you've worked really hard on, okay, and part of your product is people. People are a part of the asset of your business. And those people are represented by agents. And those agents keep coming in and taking your people to another business. Are you going to stop those agents from being able to operate within your business? Does that make sense, what I just asked you?
So if people keep taking my
Poaching
employees,
your guys, yeah,
I would probably be mad at them and try to stop them.
So you can understand then why the Russian Hockey Federation kicked out Paul Theophanos, Dan Milstein, Mark Gandler, and others. They are now unaccredited agents. And
really?
Yes, in the KHL. They are no longer considered accredited agents in the KHL.
Wow. Dan Milstein.
That's Ilya Mikheyev's agent. And I think Ozhiganov and I think Zaitsev.
Soshnikov. Actually, here, I can bring it up.
That's fascinating. So what does that mean?
From what I understand, and this is from let me just have a look at this here. This happened this week, and it was sort of an underrated story. When there's no hockey going on, you would expect a story like this to blow up. But
I feel like, side note, I feel like no stories really blow up right now.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, like the aliens thing came out, and everyone's like, oh.
No one cared.
Yeah. Well, because we all know they exist. Like, come on.
Anyways.
Come on. Anyway,
so
Jillian Kemmerer was the one with the story. Now, she is a Muscovite, and she obviously reports for Sport Express.
I think she's an American who's over there reporting.
Oh, okay. Well, she says forever Muscovite, so I'm assuming whatever. Anyway, she said the Russian Hockey Federation has just put out a list of agents who they say are not accredited to work in Russia with professional teams or players, and the list includes Theophanos, Milstein, Gandler, among others. And so very, very, very interesting that they would do that. Also included, so these are some of the agents that probably we wouldn't see more of. There's a lot of Russian agents on here, but the ones that really stood out to me, obviously, were Theophanos, Milstein, and Gandler. And specifically, I mean, Milstein especially has been linked to the Leafs over and over and over again. Crazy.
Well, and a big reason, well, they were saying, or not a reason, but a side effect of Kyle Dubas doing the right thing by Ilya Mikheyev when he got his arm slashed there. They were saying, well, Dan Milstein represents all these guys over in Russia. Mm-hmm. And, he tells them, listen, I like Toronto. There's lots of other nice cities, whatever, but the Leafs will do right by you. They will treat you right. Now I'm just looking. Puckpedia has all these agents, and they have their players. There's Dan Milstein's top moneymaker is Nikita Kucherov. His second highest moneymaker per year is Nikita Zaitsev.
Wow.
Who and this is
well.
important. This is important when you go down the list, though. Guys who weren't drafted. So, like a guy like Vladislav Nemestikov, who's his third highest moneymaker. That guy was drafted. I want to say he was a first-round pick. He was going to come over no matter what.
Mhm.
Andrei Vasilevsky, he was going to come over no matter what. Nikita Zadorov, Ivan Barbashev. Christopher's Bendulis? I don't remember him. But like a guy like Ilya Mikheyev or Nikita Zaitsev, do they go over to the NHL without an agent leading them in that direction to make the money?
Right.
That's fascinating to me. And yes, I was right about it looks like he does represent Nikita Soshnikov, who is currently in the KHL.
This is from an article yesterday from the Pension Plan Puppets, and they're talking about how this very story. The speculation is this has to do with Russian players leaving for North America. And it's not, this is the interesting part. It's not just like Nikita Zaitsev, Ilya Mikheyev, Alexander Barabanov, who is also going to be a Leaf whenever the next season starts.
Yes.
It's about the Russians leaving Russian junior leagues to come to North American junior leagues. So guys like Mikhail Abramov, SDA, Andrei Svechnikov did that. All of them left to play, and I'm quoting directly for this is Briggs Stew 88 wrote this for Pension Plan Puppets. All of them left to play in the CHL, NCAA, or the USHL to develop as pre-draft eligible prospects in North America so they have more exposure in the NHL for NHL scouts. Some of them are going to the USHL first and then either the NCAA or moving to the CHL. It's a weird path to take, but they're doing it.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. Something you would never think of. Now, guys, this is where it gets so super strange, okay? You ready for something even weirder than the Russians kicking out agents? Because it seems like they would do that, and that's a business move. And I sort of get that perspective, although it's kind of. Here's where I have a question.
Yes.
This one line at the end of the Pension Plan Puppets piece, I can't tell if he's joking or if he means this. Okay, this is Briggs Drew 88. It's Briggs Stew 88, by the way, if you want to follow him on Twitter. Here's what he said. And it might be a joke. I've heard word that MLSE is exploring the idea of purchasing a KHL team in Finland to maintain their steady stream of KHL prospects and free agents to their NHL team. Is that a joke?
Is that them making fun of you?
That's a reference to Adam Wilde on the Steve Dangle Podcast.
Because this is the part where I'm like,
I think they might be making fun of you.
I think they're making fun of you.
I was hoping they would. Because here's the thing. I was like, no. I'm sitting in my like it's like 6 a.m. this morning. I wake up early because the birds are chirping outside my window. I'm like, no fucking way. No fucking way. Come on. How is this not bigger? And then
I want it to be real. I want it to be real.
Well, I checked with an NHL insider by the name of Chris Johnston, and he said, not that I know of. He said, but I suppose anything is possible. Not sure that the NHL would maybe look kindly on them being involved in the KHL in that manner.
Boo.
Yeah, no. They're making fun of you, Adam.
Are they making fun of me?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't care. It's a good idea.
It's awesome, but
No, anyway, I was like, what? No. Anyway, if listen,
anything for a competitive advantage is stupid.
Briggs 288. If you actually did hear that, please tweet us because I'd love to know.
There are people mad that the Newfoundland Growlers are too good. Like, who cares? Like, just go do your thing with your minor league team.
Yeah.
Damn. I want that to be true, though.
I do too. You know, I would think it makes more sense to do it like with SHL rather than KHL. But man,
or anyone. I mean, they have enough Swedish prospects.
A bunch of Swedish listeners reached out to me after the time I mentioned that, and I think they said that you have to be locally owned in the majority. So the Leafs could only partially own a team. I think that's what they said. There's some sort of rule, which makes sense, where they want to keep the teams in Sweden. Sweden's a small country and, rich country, but want to keep the teams there.
And a lot of those leagues have, like, you're only allowed X amount of import players. I don't know what it's like in Sweden, but I want to say in KHL, it's like 5 it's either non-Russians or non-Europeans.
Right, to fill out the rosters.
Something
right?
like that.
Or
But
not to encourage Russian talent.
Right, but then for
CFL.
like Jokerit or Dynamo Riga, I think they make exceptions because those teams are like, I think Jokerit is majority Finnish and Dynamo Riga is majority Latvian.
What about China?
Great
what the
question.
rules are with that team? Like Red
I
Star
don't know.
equivalent? And
I think they make exceptions for them too. It's the KHL. They can.
Does Zagreb still have a team?
No,
Okay, they moved.
they lost their team.
Interesting. Yeah, because
I
I'm like, would they be mostly? I think that's Czech, right? So
Zagreb, no, Croatia.
Croatia, right?
There was a Czech team too. I don't know if it's there anymore.
Does Prague have a team anymore?
I don't think.
Did they ever have a team?
I don't think Praha's there, and Slovan Bratislava I don't think is there anymore either.
Okay.
So it changes every friggin' day. I could find a full list.
Avtomobilisk, I think, stopped running too. I think I don't know if they exist anymore.
The team that just signed Bill Peters?
Okay, maybe they did. Not Avtomobilisk.
Novokuznetsk.
Oh, is that what it was?
Novokuznetsk is done.
They folded.
It changes every friggin'
Yeah.
all the time. All the time.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Avtomobilist would be something. Hey, Bill Peters is hired. And then they get slammed.
Anyway, found that kind of interesting that like last second. Oh, by the way, Russia just kicked out a bunch of agents, especially the prominent ones. So let's do the press conference, shall we?
The Presser. SD.
Yeah.
The Steve Dangle
Did you see the note about Justin Bieber possibly signing with the Leafs, a la Drake with the Raptors?
Yeah, I did. Sorry. So do you want to talk about that? Do you want to bring it up?
No, that's just the note.
Yeah, that's the whole note. Well, if they did, here's the thing. I think in a business sense, Justin Bieber and Drake are not in the same boat.
No.
Like they might be
at one time, but
No. I'm not talking about popularity. Justin's extremely popular.
yeah.
Drake puts out an album every year. Justin hasn't had one out for like 4. It's Justin doesn't hard to explain.
He's like retired.
Yeah, here's the thing. Justin likes to do his own thing. Drake is branding and business and music and all the other things that make Drake Drake. There's a reason why Drake makes as much money as he does, and he can have you can drop $1 zillion into a house that nobody will ever be able to purchase after he's done with it. Like it's that big, right? It's so big that it'll be on. You could never sell it. It's so big. Justin is not like that. Justin is a little bit more chill, likes to go to the games, likes to be a part of the atmosphere, is a big Leafs fan, loves being in Ontario. I think he's quarantining here right now. But I don't see Justin on stage sitting with his friends watching the Leafs in the playoffs at Maple Leaf Square. Does that make sense?
I also don't see him.
I don't see Justin Bieber putting his logo on the MasterCard Center in Etobicoke for their practice.
I feel like
different.
Am I wrong? I think he'd get booed.
Yeah,
like if he sat at Maple Leaf Square,
there's no reason to boo him. Like it's
Right.
No, but like Drake, I think was very accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Bieber, I think a lot of like hockey dudes would be like, "Boo, you
Wait,
suck."
are you saying the hockey community is really exclusive and doesn't accept new people?
I mean,
Flipping way.
maybe.
God.
I mean, maybe.
I'm shocked.
Why can't I don't know. I like the idea, but like Drake is such a weird unicorn in his role for the Raptors.
Yeah.
And
People
just
made fun of the Raptors for doing it when it happened.
I don't think people appreciate what Drake is in terms of like a marketing genius and a business mogul and all those other, and also on top of that being an international celebrity. Like
Yes.
I don't think people realize how much depth there is there, and you can't just plug in any personality into a role like that. It just doesn't work. You have to have the unicorn.
Any Milwaukee fans, I was at Game 3. He straight up had an impact on that game. He did. If he was anybody else, he would have been kicked out of the building and never allowed back.
Mm-hmm.
But
Said he got a $25,000 fine.
He was a Raptors employee.
Yeah.
The guy, he straight up had an impact though. Raptors lose that game, they probably get swept.
Yep. I don't think, as Jesse said, I don't think you can replicate what Drake is with Justin Bieber or anyone, frankly.
No.
Anyone. I don't think there's anybody I don't. Maybe Jay-Z. If Jay-Z signed with, like, I know he's got a thing with the NFL right now, but like if Jay-Z, if for some reason the New York Yankees needed a brand rehab, the way the Raptors did a few years ago, Jay-Z be a guy.
Yeah, I think even on that, they tried that with the Nets when he was part owner with the Russian dude.
Yeah.
Remember? And then he had to sell that, and then the Russian guy ended up selling it too, and it just didn't work out. And they changed all the uniforms.
Yeah. And those uniforms suck, by the way. The new Nets uniforms with the colors on the side, and I think they're crap. Oh.
Well, it's just every team with a bad uniform went, what if we had a black uniform?
Yeah.
And now everyone's got a black uniform. And now they're not cool anymore because everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Like, who is the most famous hockey fan in the world?
The most famous hockey fan?
Yeah, at least
Mike
in
Myers?
terms of celebrity.
Will Arnett?
Yeah, like, Mike Myers has not been relevant for over a decade.
Right.
Will Arnett
Bieber, maybe.
is the most famous. Like, Putin,
Bieber.
It does not count.
Justin Bieber.
It's got to be Justin Bieber.
Will Ferrell?
Is he a big hockey? Oh, he's an LA fan, right?
Yeah. He's
Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg in the booth with Cebulski. Yo, for what it's worth.
No, don't say.
What if we record him saying 3 things?
And then it comes on during every second period.
Why? I think they did, as hokey as that is, I think they did the best job that could have possibly been done with that. Is that fair?
Oh, sure.
Like, it sounds like it's happening. It does. Yeah. It doesn't sound phony. It's just, it's a bit, especially every second period. Hey, we're going to have Snoop Dogg. It's like, oh my God.
And for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about NHL 20. When you have commentary on, sometimes Snoop Dogg joins the booth and it sounds like he's a guest commentator in the game. And the execution is not the best.
That's the problem with a game that you play all the time is you remember every line of dialogue by heart.
Yeah.
Did you know that Ray Ferraro only had 2 empty netters? I'll never forget it now.
You guys don't turn off commentary?
I do because I like to listen to like podcasts and stuff while I'm
Same
playing.
Here.
I can't remember if I turned it off. I think I might have had to for my streaming.
Yeah,
but
it's that have to do it because they probably are in that booth for hundreds of hours recording stuff.
Didn't Jim Houston say he'd never do it again?
Did he?
Or something like that? Yeah, because he was the voice for years.
Yeah, I'm Jim Houston and I'm Bill Clement. Remember? Yeah. And then it was Eddie Olczyk.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I guess he's probably like, this is exhausting and it probably doesn't pay well. And it's great for your brand, but it's just, it's a lot of work to record stuff like that. One day they're going to do a documentary on how the voicing. You look at I think Red Dead Redemption 2.
Took like 5 years.
5 years to craft the story, build it, and all that stuff, make sure all the glitches were out of it, and make sure that the voice actors matched. Imagine how many times the guy who plays the main guy, whatever his name is, I can remember anyone's
Arthur
name.
Morgan.
Arthur Morgan. Imagine how many times he had to go, ugh, just like grunt. Like, think about that. For years.
Roger Clark is the name of the what do they call him? Like motion capture actor.
Yeah.
Because they're not just voicing these over in a booth. And he told this great story. I actually watched this video today because I'm obsessed. Where he recorded all his horse lines where you're all right, girl. Where he's talking to his horse.
Hey, girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So he recorded all his horse lines. 2 weeks later, they're like, yeah, Roger, you got to re-record all your horse lines. Why? Well, because it sounds like you really like your horse. Yeah. No, like it sounds like you're in love with the horse. And it's all the lines are like, you're all right, girl.
Is it like Cartman where it's like, it sounds like you're in love with Jesus?
Yeah.
Easy, girl. Yeah, it's all kind of creepy. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll re-record all of those.
That's very funny.
I would love to be in a GTA or Red Dead game. God.
The Madden 2003 game, they had a couple of videos in the PS2 menu. Like if you go to like settings and like credits and all that stuff, you can watch some behind the scene videos, and they show like all the motion capture stuff, and they'd show Al Michaels and John Madden recording their lines for the commentary for the game. So you saw a little behind the scenes of that inside the game, which is really cool because I was obsessed with Madden 2003 for some reason.
Sick. That is sick.
2003.
That
was a great time.
One of the
great time for video games.
Mm-hmm. It was great. And the rights weren't so hardcore, so you'd have competing NHL games and competing football games, and it pushed them to be better rather than now, which is no, we own this and it's as bad as we want it.
I want to say 2K 2003 had swollen members in it, and I remember being like, CanCon! That's a Canadian group! Oh my god! Ah! I just thought that was the craziest thing.
Yeah, they
swollen
still say
members.
What is it? 2K 5 is the best football game of all time, and then EA Sports bought up the rights, so they had no competition. So they eliminated the best video game football game.
Oh,
yeah. They would like MVP baseball was so good. I remember as well.
So good.
You could build before like anything. They had these features. You could build your own baseball park, and then you'd be complete owner of the stadium and the ticket prices. And then you get upgrades just by having a good team. And it was so in depth. It was ahead of its time. And then Sony came, and Sony bought the rights to the MLB games. So you could only find MLB games on the
PlayStation.
PS3. Yeah.
I remember I had an Xbox 360 and I wanted to play a baseball game and there just wasn't one.
Didn't have an option.
Like
because 2K continued their game for a little bit, but then they stopped because it just wasn't good enough.
Right. And it's oh man, it's hilarious to think that used to be the case. Like that there were multiple different brands of the NFL, the NHL, whatever. And I would think that competition forces you to be better. And I think it's a shame that I think the NHL should be smart and say, let's let the best man win. We want a fraction of every sale that happens, and we'll just see what game does well. Because what you have then is fans buying multiple games. Yeah. Well, we'll try this, we'll try that.
Yeah, especially when you see what 2K Sports is doing with the NBA franchise.
Oh.
It's like, and you're limiting your product as the NHL and be like, no, we're only going to have EA Sports make it.
Yeah.
When you could probably have this other version that's probably an alternative that's just as good or better.
I'm worried for NHL 21 just because, well, actually, it has so much potential because it could potentially be the only hockey. But also, I just feel like 20 it's fine. It's fine if everything works. Like, the game is so damn buggy. Like, if you just release the game as it is but fix all the bullshit, it's a fantastic game. You know what I mean? Especially a lot of the online stuff and... even like their servers, EA servers, it's
always
it's a coin flip of whether or not you can get into it and if it's stable.
Dude, we did a stream. We did a stream on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and Twitch last week. We're gonna do another one tonight, and we had to stop the stream because the game froze.
There you go.
Like, there was no way. Like exiting the game meant stopping the stream. It ruined the stream.
Right.
Because it froze.
With the thing with EA too is they've got all these resources, but they spend all this money to buy the rights. So like a couple of the franchises that I really liked that EA put out was Battlefield 1, which is the World War I video game, which was very ambitious and well executed game. You know, a World War I video game had never been really done before, and they did an amazing job with it. Then they have Star Wars. The first one, people were like, okay, so you've released a game, but there's no storyline. There's no campaign.
Stupid.
So it's all online.
I remember you telling us about that. It's just the game.
So this is it. So this is okay. All right. So, but I had a good group of guys that I played with, so I played it a lot and it was fun. Fast forward, you go to the next game and the second Star Wars, there was that massive blow up. I don't know if you guys remember this, where you had to buy your way into being a better player.
Yeah, I do remember this.
You could play your way into it, but they estimated it would take 3,000 hours to unlock everything. And I think the Netherlands were the first ones to say, that's gambling. And we're not allowing that. Because there's a card pack system where you buy card packs with the credits that you earned, and you don't know what you could get. You could get a really good card, you could get a really shitty card. That's a lottery. And so they're like, that's gambling, you can't do that. And so it's so crazy that EA wouldn't see that as maybe an issue. And what's funny about that Star Wars game is, like, I bought the full season pass, whatever. I'm a huge Star Wars guy. So I bought the whole thing. I'm like, just give me the whole game up front. It was like $120 or something. And they are still releasing new DLCs for it. And everybody that I know that still plays it goes, oh, it's a great game now. But it was a shitty game for 8 months.
I know.
Months.
I know it's a
Who's
ridiculous.
gonna hang on for that?
And it took spending $300 in microtransactions to make it a good game.
And then if you did do all that work, then they just gave it fucking to you anyway once those 8 months were up. So I fucking hustled and got all that shit done. And then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're just going to give it to you now.
Imagine you went to like Harvey's, right?
Yeah.
And you ordered a burger and you brought it home and it was lettuce and meat, right? And then a month later, they shipped you the bread. The next week, they give you a pickle. Mm-hmm. Like, what? You'd be pissed, right?
No, you have to do 50 push-ups to get the pickle. You have to do 50 fucking push-ups to do the pickle. Yeah. And then, here's the best part. You've already paid for the pickle, but now you got to do push-ups for it.
And you haven't unlocked a tomato.
Which is insanity to me. And then, so now, my friend
9-year-old
Alex,
going, be better.
Yeah.
You want a tomato, be better, you suck.
True.
Your mom, get a tomato.
So my buddy Alex is, and Steve is great friends with Alex as well. Jesse knows Alex quite well. One of my groomsmen, great guy. Alex has been like bugging me to download the Battlefield 1942, whatever, the Second World War game. So I download it, and I'm playing multiplayer, and of course I'm getting my ass kicked. But I'm like picking up health packs and trying to heal myself. So if you get hit, like say there's 100 health bar, you might get down to 20.
Yeah.
And then, so I get down to 20 and then I'd heal up and I'd be at 55. Okay. Well, I go get another health pack and it wouldn't work. So their rationale is if you're on a battlefield and you get hit, you are not going to be 100% healthy that day. So
that's kind of cool.
You have to keep fighting.
It's realism.
No, it's not fucking cool. It sucks. Because then you get a 12-year-old in here, you're like, I'm going to fucking balls you. I don't play for it to be that realistic. I had issues with the historical inaccuracies in Battlefield 1 and the fact that they didn't have the perspectives of Germans, Austro-Hungarians, Ottomans, all of those things, right? But I know it's a video game. In this case, it's like, no, you're going to run. Oh, first off, they stand where you spawn and they're there and they got their sniper rifle. Right. If you survive spawning, you can't ever get back up to health. And if anybody ever hits you with even the graze of a bullet, you're gone. Again.
How about when you die?
The game, not fucking playing the game. I want to be on the fucking field for the game.
No, let's make it really realistic. If you die, the game explodes.
Yeah.
EA Sports comes in and they take your disc.
Take it back.
You're dead.
Yes, you get one life. One fucking life. And this is what's crazy to me. And then they're like, oh, by the way, you have to wait 20 seconds for your squad to squad up so you can go back in. So I'm sitting there fucking waiting for this countdown to happen. Dude, I just want to fucking play a video game. I'm a dad. I get like 20 minutes a day free time. Let me fucking jump in and go. And they're like, no, sorry, you got an update. Don't worry, tomorrow you'll be able to play, though. Fuck
It'd be like if you're playing GTA and you get shot in the leg, and then for the rest of the game, your leg is just injured and you're limping around.
Yeah, you got
to
go to the hospital, have an actual operation, and then
let me run around in a circle in a field for a little bit for like 30 seconds, and let me heal up.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that real.
And then I'm healed, and then I'm good. Stupid.
I used to be like, one day video games are going to be so realistic and it's going to be great. And now they're so realistic and they stink.
The graphics need to be realistic. The play does not. It's a video game.
No.
It's a video game. And that's the thing. So I'm playing Animal Crossing now. You know what you do in Animal Crossing? Whatever. But you know what's great about it? You're always fucking playing.
Yeah.
That's the best part about Animal Crossing. Yeah. And that's what I realized about like Super Mario. Super Mario, when you're playing, you're playing. Mm-hmm. And when you die, it takes about 5 seconds. Bang, you're back in. I want to play.
There's an art to video games that's missing when you go for too much realism.
Yes, and too much. Why do I have to wait to respawn? Put me the fuck back on the field, man. It's just ridiculous.
You know what was a great game that just said screw it? It's all about fun. Rocket League.
Yes. Perfect.
Rocket League.
So true.
You're a car and it's a soccer ball and sometimes it's a puck and it's insanity. It's insanity, and it's
here's some things that make you jet. Now you're a jet.
The physics don't work, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's because you're a magical robot car, and it's a lot of fun. Everything else, you go back to 55 after you die. If you're going for realism, I'm just dead then.
Yeah. I'm just dead. They're half. That's being half dead, right? Like that's what it's and it's not even that you die and you go back to 55. It's that you get hit, and the most you can heal up to is like a 55.
Stupid.
Right.
Stupid.
So you just die over and over again.
Yeah. Because if I did get hit, I'm getting carted off the fucking field anyway, man. I'm not healing myself up, wrapping a Band-Aid around it, going, "Fuck it, boys. I'm a 55. I'm still good. Let's go."
You know what I find myself doing more and more? If I'm talking to a friend who's going through a tough time, I go, how much video games are you playing? Oh, I play this to wind down. I'm like, you play StarCraft to wind down.
Call of Duty.
Have you ever seen someone who's good at StarCraft play StarCraft?
It's stressful. It's very stressful. Watch the
This is me relaxing.
Yeah. Or League of Legends.
Circling rush! Let's go! Your mom! Be better! Get better! And you're in your 30s relaxing.
Right.
Maybe
watch Too Hot to Handle.
Arrived, motherfucker! Let's go! Really? That's relaxing.
Oh, man.
Are you sure?
Jesse, what did you want to say, man?
No, I just said maybe instead watch Too Hot to Handle,
Yeah.
That's a little bit more relaxing.
Dude, I watched Too Hot to Handle and like every day at dinner while I was feeding Everly, and no, she wasn't facing the television. And I was just like, this is my...
She's a baby.
She
can watch.
She doesn't, exactly. She's not going to know. And like I was just like feeding her, and I'd watch Too Hot to Handle. I'm like, this is nice. This is a happy time.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Done. I get on a Battlefield 2. I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
honestly, it took me about 30 seconds to know I just made an $80 mistake. I just bought this fucking game, and I want to snap my controller in half. I'll never play that game again, ever. I want my money back, and I can't get it. I'll never get it.
You got to go to their house like South Park, Mel Gibson. Passion of the Christ is a shitty movie. Give me back my $8.
Yeah, that's how it feels. And that's not to besmirch EA employees. It's just dumb. Like that's dumb, right? It's not. It's the company goes, well, we own everything, so we can just do whatever the fuck. And that's been a complaint for years.
How about you take this $80 packet of stress and ruin your life for 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
What if you did that instead?
And in a year, you might be good enough to have an even kill count. You might have as many deaths as you do shot.
How good are you at Fortnite now?
Pretty good, because Fortnite is not about shooting. Fortnite is about hiding. So,
Boo!
It's really fun if you're with a good group of people.
Sounds so fun.
The
game is about hiding.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun, dude. With Fortnite, the more crafty you are, the longer you play, and I like that. Fortnite's not about going in guns blazing. So these fucking kids that are so good, and in Call of Duty Warzone's case, which is basically Fortnite but for Call of Duty, they found all the people that were cheating, by the way, and just put them all in the same game. Because people are able to cheat the system, right? They're able to jump on, especially if it's cross-console. If you are on a PC, it's very, very easy for people who are really computer proficient to get into these games. And I don't know how it works, but you basically are able to hack in, change, and you can change the frame rate, and you can change how your bullet hits or whatever.
On Fortnite, especially, because you'll be on PC and you'll be playing somebody on PS4, and that's just unfair because the keyboard and the mouse is just so much quicker, and you're able to customize a PC to exactly your preferences, so you can just dominate the game.
That's why apparently pro gamers for PlayStation 4 use a mouse and a keypad. You can actually apparently do that. Because you're more accurate with a mouse than you are with your thumbs.
Yeah. So relaxing.
It is. You know what? Fortnite is a blast, and it's free. Like if you play Fortnite and you don't like it, just fucking delete it. It's free. You don't pay for it.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I paid $80 for that god-awful World War II game. Yeah, the graphics are sick. You know what? I never fucking saw anything because it was covered in smoke, and then some asshole's like on me with his nuts in my face. Like I don't like. It's just like, fuck.
And Adam's just getting teabagged in Warzone.
stupid. No, I never played Warzone. I know Pete Blackburn's been all over that, but like,
Yeah.
Oh no, I got shot by some Austrian troops. Get better. Your mother. Get better. Noob.
Steve, what's the best game you've played recently?
Oh man, dude, I'm boring. Like I play like 2 games a year. Like
Oh.
I just finished I'm almost done my 3rd playthrough of Red Dead 2 and I'm playing NHL 20. I got to move on to another game. But like I have no interest in playing any shooting game online. I tried it for a while with it was like Halo whatever.
Halo
5.
Reach, wasn't it Reach?
I don't think
I don't know
it was
what the
with
first
Halo
one-
Reach, although underrated game in my opinion.
Underrated, great game. Yeah.
Gamers hated it for some reason. I don't get it. But online shooting games, the amount of time you got to commit to the game for it to even be playable for you is wild. And it's just not something. I understand why people watch video games, because what these streamers are able to do is insane.
Crazy.
Mhm.
Which is why I will say, like, there's so many impressive games, and like I can appreciate anyone who's good at any video game. I don't understand why Fortnite's so big from a streaming perspective, because okay, boys, we're about to drop into a game, and then you drop into this beautiful looking map,
Mm-hmm.
and then all you see is this guy jumping around, and it's just blue flashes in front of his face because he's building the whole friggin' time, and all you see is blue flash, and maybe once every 5 minutes. All right, blue flash. It's just epilepsy.
It's the personalities that
It's called
sell it.
epilepsy.
It's the personalities that sell. It's not the game. It's the
Totally.
people that play it. It's the guys that are streaming that are hilarious. That's why.
Totally.
You need to watch this. You need to watch this
Blue
version
flash.
on YouTube.
Yeah, for anybody who's not watching.
That seems like it's
Drop into a beautiful map that you never get to see. Blue flash. And we're gonna take a look at me building a shed for 45 minutes and finish 8th.
Finish 8.
And finish 8th.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, I have to tell you, I've played video games for 20 years. Nothing has been more satisfying than winning a game of Fortnite.
Have you won?
I have, yes. And I have
wow.
team game, never on my own. But
Oh,
my team, so it was me, my friend Philippe, and his brother Mark, and this kid from Mexico who might have been 9. And
what?
And
I
he's
played
like
Fortnite once, and it was with an 11-year-old.
yeah, and this kid was the Wayne Gretzky of Mexican Fortnite. Like, this kid was good. And he was so accepting of us. Like, usually the kids are like, look at these noobs with the noob. They got the noob skins on, bro. They didn't buy skins, bro. I'm like, whatever. You freaking used your parents' money to buy your
Right.
skins, bro. But whatever.
You
Anyway,
got that for Christmas.
yeah. So this kid's like, in Spanish. And then we're like, cool.
Oh, he didn't even speak.
No, he spoke only Spanish, and then he knew we were speaking English, and he's like, American, and then we're like, no, Canadian. He's like, hey, and then anyway, we got into because at the end it's a fight, right? Like, it's a real fight, and because the circle gets closed, and it takes about 20 minutes to get through a game, and anyway, so we're at the end, and this kid could build like blue flash, like I've never seen before.
And you just hid behind his shed.
Yeah. And finally, my friend Mark hits the last guy with a sniper bullet. And you've never seen 2 men in their 40s. This is my buddy Mark and his buddy Philippe. Me in my late 20s at the time. And this kid who might have been 9. He hasn't even hit double digits. Screamed so fucking loud. The dogs got up and were like,
What?
it was. It is such a, you have to be calm. It's like golf. You have to be calm, measured. You have to really play things smartly. Big explosion. And that's what's so fun about Fortnite is there's a thrill that you build up to every game. And that's why I love that game. It's so much fun. And usually you lose. But man, when we won, it was like I was doing fist pumps. Like, it was like the least we're in the playoffs. It was amazing. Anyway,
It's video
Ridiculous.
it's
They're
ridiculous.
hard.
Yeah.
They're so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, you're good. You're better than most.
At what? Fortnite?
Gaming, I would say.
Me?
You play a lot of
Dude,
video
I got
games.
kicked off the charity team.
Okay, you're shit at chell. You're shit at chell. You're good at shooters.
You're good at
shooting
shooters.
games.
I'm okay at shooters. I'm okay. I'm good at the Star Wars shooters. That's about it.
I think you're selling yourself short compared to most.
Oh, I don't think so.
I would love to see you on. I would love to see you on a Fortnite stream.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I'd love to do a Fortnite stream. Here's the thing about
We
shooters.
should
though.
Fortnite stream on a Friday.
If you guys want a Fortnite stream,
Yeah,
like, it's so.
Grandpa. How do you shoot? How do you,
That's what'll be
how do
great.
I build a shed?
That'll be
What's
funny.
the build a shed button? What's the blue flash build a shed
Here's
button?
the thing, though. You two. Here's where we would go wrong in Fortnite. You two wouldn't listen to me. You'd be like, "I'm gonna go do my own thing."
Correct.
Oh my
cannot-
god! Yeah, I'm just gonna fuck around.
You can't do that though. If you want to win in Fortnite, you got to move together, and you got to rotate around the circle. So the whole point is the circle gets smaller. You have to rotate around the circle, around that edge, and circle and circle and circle. Boom, and you're guaranteed like a top 3 if you rotate properly. And then you have to, and then it's about luck. Then it's about shooting.
Can I give you things? Like if my character has
Yes.
something, can I give it to you?
100%. Yeah.
So what if Jesse and I just harvested wood for you to build your
You're
shed?
gonna get shot because you're gonna go do your own
No,
thing,
because
and
you're going to
gonna get
protect
shot.
us. You're going to
No.
protect us.
You guys would be horrendous. Like, listen, I'd love to have you on the team, but I want my team because you guys are gonna be like, no, I feel like that's a pretty cool looking farm. I'm gonna go check that out, and then you're gonna get your ass busted, and then I'm gonna be like, see, I told you. And then the 12-year-old's gonna come and sack you.
But what if I learn how to blue flash?
I'll teach you. If you guys want to stream Fortnite, I would totally love
There's
it.
no way.
I'd love it. It'd be so much
No.
fun.
I'm gonna play Animal Crossing this week.
Dude,
Imagine.
let me know so we can join each other's
I'll come to
islands
your
because I have
island.
Steve's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
it's fun. It's fun because you always are doing something.
There's a sad or hilarious streaming idea waiting to happen, and it's a 30 and up Fortnite league.
I like that.
Just a
idea.
bunch of people who like grew up playing video games and think they're good at them. Just getting. Oh yeah, sorry, but there's one 12-year-old in every game who's like Darth Vader in that Star
Or
Wars.
a 9-year-old from Mexico.
Just yeah.
I don't know what that kid is up to right now, but I hope he never gave up on his Fortnite dreams because he was unbelievable.
But we put one
Unbelievable.
stipulation on them. Like they're 1,000 times better than everyone else, but they can only use like a melee weapon. Like no guns.
there's not really any melee weapons in Fortnite. You
Well,
gotta
I
have
thought there
some
was
sort
like
of-
a hammer or an axe.
Well, yeah,
or
but that's what
something.
you use to harvest like wood and rock
Yeah,
and
and
stuff.
that's
chop
their
people with
only
the axe,
weapon.
though.
You can, but it sucks. Like you can't.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. You have to give them a handicap of some kind.
Just give him a shitty gun. Give him like a shitty gun.
Nah,
There's, like,
give me
Axe
the
is a
axe.
pretty shitty gun. You can't shoot it. That's a bad gun. This mug is a bad gun.
Okay. All right. Whatever.
I think there's an idea there.
all right. I guess this was our press conference.
We'll have to save
yeah.
Adam's history corner for the next podcast.
Oh,
fine.
no.
Adam, do you want to do your favorite historical corruption?
Corruption. Like,
Yeah.
you mean like who was the most corrupt?
Yeah, just your favorite most corrupt guy in history.
Oh,
When the NHL
easy.
changed
Do you-
the
you have a
draft
story?
lottery,
easy.
All right, that's the tease.
No,
Sorry.
no. Sorry, Steve. What?
What were you saying?
Steve, go ahead.
when the NHL changed their draft lottery mid-pandemic.
No, I mean that's a good one. But there is history. I'm gonna tease this. Next episode you will find out about history's greatest rascal. This guy was
The
a
Rascals.
rascal. Yeah, ultimate. So nah, I can't.
Are you going to give his name?
No, but if you know anything about history, Napoleon called this guy a sack of shit in a silk stocking. That's how he described him. So
Right.
that's who we're going to talk about
Would
next.
Charlie eat that sack of shit?
Yeah.
By the way, underrated thing about history, Napoleon had some serious, he had like an acid tongue and could just fucking destroy guys. Like if you remember that Nick Cannon show where you had to like your mama jokes, Napoleon would have fucking won that in France. Like that guy was unbelievable with the disses. So anyway, just throwing that out there.
And that guy was like an inch and a half shorter than the average man at the time. And for the rest
He
of
wasn't.
history, he is known as really tiny.
No, he was 5'7".
Oh, was
He
he?
wasn't
Yeah.
short. He was normal.
Not back then.
Huh?
Not back then.
5'7" was normal back then. He was 5'7". Yeah.
Now
yeah.
it's a short king status.
Right, of course. Anyway, we'll be back Wednesday. So I'm sure that we'll have some news on the draft by then as well. And hopefully maybe a little bit more speculation about when we're actually going to see a game. So until then, Steve, what do you say?
Blue flash, blue flash, blue flash, blue flash. Get wrecked! Blue flash, blue flash.
Be better.
Be better, get wrecked!
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.